What's up, everybody? Welcome back to another live stream of Let's Get Nuts. Thanks for coming back. I am your host, Ben Thomas, here at The Ben Thomas Show. Now, guys, I've got a great panel, of course, with me today. It wouldn't be a Let's Get Nuts show without those guys. We're going to cover InArt news. We're going to cover Hot Toys news. This One Piece, which I keep referring to as One Direction, and thankfully Thomas in the background corrected me on that. But we've got some experts on One Piece, so stick around for that as well. Also, I do want to dive into some entertainment news as always, because we've got lots to talk about since we missed last week. So, guys, stick around. If you guys like the video, hit the like button for me, of course. Smash the subscribe if you're new to the Ben Thomas Show. And with that said, let's get nuts.
Come on, let's get nuts.
I give you Ben Thomas.
Showdown.
Here we go.
Alrighty. I am rusty today, guys. I don't know about you guys. You ever have one of those days where you're tripping over your words right from the get-go? Eddie Mendez in the back said he's got bedhead that he's rocking for us today. So I don't know if he's been tripping over his own words too. But first of all, let's bring in Mr. Classy Thomas, of course, aka SpongeBob SquareBalls. Good to see you, buddy. Thanks for coming back.
Good to be here. Good to be here, Ben.
Yeah, and I appreciate it because you put up your hand earlier today and was like, hey, I know a little bit about One Piece, so bring me in the show. And I was like, that's good because some of us need to be able to address this today. And Eddie as well. But Mr. Thomas, I haven't seen you in 2 weeks, buddy. Everything going good?
Yeah, everything is going well. Yeah, I've been on a few streams, been working on a few projects so I can finally start getting a little bit more content up. I don't know. I think that what's happening is that I'm having such a good time going on other people's streams that I'm like, hey, I don't need to do my own content. I can just visit the other guys.
Hey, you know what? Mario for a long time did that too, right? Like he started doing a little more of his own content, but he's been kind of the person who goes around and helps people. So that's a good thing.
Yeah, so I'm kind of looking forward to, putting a few things up, but I have been enjoying visiting other people on their channels and just having some fun. Having some fun with the guys, so I'm having a good time.
We're always happy to have you here on a crazy Getting Nuts Sunday, of course. Thanks for coming back. Mr. Eddie from Made Media, the YouTube channel that hasn't gotten any love lately. You're going to have to post on there pretty soon, buddy. Or you're going to have to change your little screen grab so everybody at least knows it's you when I say you're on the show. What's going on?
I'm a bit like Thomas. I'm just a stream whore, so I like to go on to everybody's streams and let them do everything, and I'm just there to talk and have fun and hang out. So
I mean, that's fair. It's way better than not showing up at all, and especially talking to myself. Nobody would be entertained by that. So. And
I wouldn't call myself a One Piece expert. I think Thomas is the expert. I like the show a lot. And
yeah,
so
I don't know if I'm an expert either, Eddie. I'm a big fan. And I know
you guys
some.
Set some pretty heavy expectations for me. I'm expecting like a Wikipedia read at least. Wow. Okay. All good. Love to have you here, Eddie. Thanks for coming back. I like the bedhead thing, by the way. Actually, it looks pretty coiffed.
Yeah, it's a good look.
And whipped up. It's a good look. So
yeah, my hair is crazy in the morning. I didn't just wake up, by the way. I've been up for several hours, but I just haven't. I just don't care.
Even if you had, I wouldn't have judged. I just finished my morning coffee, so it's 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Yeah, that's awesome. Well, thanks for coming back, Mr. Eddie, Mr. Thomas. Of course, a stream would not be a stream here at Let's Get Nuts Sunday without Pete from Only Fools and Collecting, a division of Collecting Weekly. You're a little dark today, so just a little mysterious, if I might say, Pete. But how's it going, buddy?
Yeah, because just not too bad, but in the process of you of waiting for the show to start, I've lost my monitor, so it's now so that normally lights me, and so I'm on the laptop one, so I'm going to try and get it fixed.
All good.
So yeah, just bear with me, but I can still chat while I'm trying to sort it out. That's not a problem.
You could 100% be a Batman villain where like half of your face is totally like gooey and the other half is normal. I can see it.
Yeah, sounds good.
But I'm glad to have you back, buddy. Thanks for joining in, as always. We've got a big show to cover today, guys. We missed 2 weeks of entertainment news. We missed 2 weeks of figure news. There wasn't a lot in the figure realm, but over the last couple of days, a lot has come up. So we definitely have a lot to address there. But I want to get us warmed up, as always, of course, on the show with a thought-provoking question. So I have always liked creatures like vampires. I've always liked the concept of immortality. For me, I'm always thinking about how life feels a little short. In fact, I've tried to change my thinking on that. I've tried to kind of convert it to, wow, it's only 9 o'clock versus, wow, it's already 9 o'clock. Because I'm constantly feeling like I'm getting older and time is slipping away. And I've always liked the concept of immortality because part of me wants to see what happens next, what happens beyond my own lifetime. But the interesting part of immortality is the capacity for the brain to hold memory. I read a little bit today on research of the brain, and the cool thing about immortality, if it were in existence, if it were a possibility, is that the way the human brain works, assuming that your brain wouldn't age and fall apart with your body, it would stay kind of young and youthful as you progressively got older and older and older, that eventually your brain essentially runs out of ability to hold memories. It runs out and starts to rewrite some of those memories. Essentially meaning that if you got old enough, you'd forget parts of who you originally were. Things that made you you 200 years ago, of course, are not those things that would make you you now 200, 300, 400 years later. So my thought for you guys, or question for you guys, first of all, is we talk a lot about superpowers. Is immortality something that you guys would want? Or would you rather trade that out for another superhero power? And if so, what would that trade out be? Thomas, immortality or something else? What would you choose?
I choose something else. I don't think that, I don't know, when I watch shows of these characters and characters that are able to live forever, and they've lived, the reason why I don't think I want it is you will be here, but all the people you love, all the things that you've cared about will just fade away, and then you have to kind of start all over in essence. And I don't know, to some degree I think that seems kind of sad. And I think that, let's say that I had someone else with me who was immortal. I would kind of think that after 200, 300, 1,000 years, I might get kind of tired of them. And I think that the thing that makes life precious is the fact that you know that one day it's going to end. And if you're smart, like I think people a lot of times, especially when you're younger, we have a tendency to take time for granted. Like me, I'm 58, so I know that my time is somewhat limited. I mean, I could live to be 100 or more, who knows? But at that time, my body's not going to be the way it used to be. Would I want to be here with a fresh mind, looking for more things, but being a body that couldn't support that? So yeah, immortality just seems like it's a bit overrated. I mean, it would be cool to say, wow, what would things be like in 200 years or 2,000 years? I would much rather be a time traveler than immortal. Okay. If I could have a power,
skip a little
exactly.
bit of time.
Let me skip through time and see what's happening there. But I don't necessarily know that I want to live there. For example, if you look at like Captain America and Bucky, you saw how Bucky was, in particular, was having such a hard time adjusting because he was still the young man from 1920 something, and being in this modern time just felt foreign to him.
Right.
And he felt a little bit out of place. I mean, you can see that through some of the MCU movies.
But even that was almost like a time jump. Even that was almost like time travel versus aging through that, right? So
yeah, that's true. But the problem with that is that he can't jump back. He's there permanently. So he's that young man. I mean, he's this old man in this young body, and he's still thinking about, hey, if people talk about going to the club, he's like, yeah, let's go out and do the jitterbug. I mean, It's like, come on, So,
So if not immortal, then Thomas, what would you want to be, or what power would you actually want then?
I think I would like to have the ability to time travel and just see what things are like, and not necessarily have to inhabit that space, but just to be able to see what things are like. I think that will be something. Now, since you also have those things that say, you're not supposed to interfere with time unless you change it, or, I get that. But if I could just travel and just be an observer, kind of like the Watcher, even though he's not a time jumper, but his whole job is just to watch. I would love to just be there and just watch and see things improve, or if they don't improve, seeing where things go, but just to be able to sit there and just see how people handle things in the future, or even able to jump in the past and see how people did things in the past, and just get information and just be a part of it. It would be the downside to that, though, would be I wouldn't be able to offer anything to help people change the mistakes they might make. So that would be the only downside to it. But I'd still love to be able to see.
I would argue you wouldn't want to, though, right? So
Yeah,
say, for
exactly.
example, you were a time traveler who jumped into a period of human civilization when there was war happening. You would want to warn your folks that you're coming from that a war is about to happen, a great war. But history, we don't learn if history doesn't happen, right? We could tend to make the same mistake. So if we tried to stop a war, it might create a worse one down the line. Like it's that, right? And so I can understand what you mean, though, jumping through time. I think that I like the idea, but I agree. If I jumped into a time where I realized that the world is devastated and nobody wants to live there, how can you come back and pretend like that didn't happen?
Yeah.
So, interesting thoughts, Thomas. What about you, Eddie? Would you ever want to be immortal? What do you think the perks of that would be for yourself if you did? Or would you rather have an alternative power to exist in life with?
I don't know. I think that the cool part of being immortal is the knowledge that you would have, and like you'd have a cheat code to life, right? Because I feel like if you were immortal, you'd be rich, you'd be wealthy, you'd be powerful. Like, I would think, unless you wasted all those years just being a bum or something. But that part of being immortal is cool to me, and like seeing and knowing a lot, and like being able to, I don't know, help people in a different way because of your knowledge, and like, I don't know, being successful and just seeing, and then also seeing how the world progresses. But at the same time, I'm sure after a certain amount of time you just get over it. But I think it would take like, I would say like 1,000 years. I think after 1,000 years you might be done with it. I don't know, maybe sooner, but for me I think it would take like that amount of time. Then I'd be like, I'm kind of over it. But at the same time, there are things like that I'm noticing as I just get older that you do. I think it's inevitable that we tend to get stuck in our past, and like things that we enjoy from our past, we tend to not like certain things about the future because of it. So like certain things, like with the way like pop culture is headed, or movies, or like just certain things, and
social
then like
media,
politically, and social media and everything. Like there are things that like, man, like why can't I jump back like 15 years and be back then? Like,
yeah, we could talk on MSN, not even live. We could just have a little MSN conversation, call it a day. Aged myself.
So I don't know. I think it sounds cooler than it would actually be, because I think there are a lot of things that would annoy me, and like, how do you get that old and not end up being like a bitter, kind of like jaded person? You know what I mean? So
How would you not become? Yeah, that's fair. Interesting thoughts. Would you rather have a different power then? What would you choose for yourself if you could?
To fly.
Okay.
I don't know why flying sounds amazing. You can go anywhere in the world. That's another cool thing about living forever. You have more time to see the world. Like how many? I think about this a lot. Like there are things people want to do in their lifetime that they don't actually do. Like everybody wants to go to like Europe and Spain and all, like travel the world and see different things. Go to Asia and like see different things around there, and like how many people actually do it? So one thing you could do if you live forever, you'd see everything. You'd have a chance to experience everything. So yes, you'd lose a lot, but at the same time, your experiences would be so vast, it'd be amazing. So I don't know, it's like the good and the bad, I guess.
Absolutely. With the power of flight, because that's something that I've always like when I dream, if I have a really good dream, it's usually like I'm flying around, almost like Peter Pan style, let's be honest, right? You just lift off the ground and just fly.
Yeah.
I always thought that was cool, except like A, it would be cold as hell up in the sky. B, there's a good chance I'm going to get hit by a plane and wish I was invincible at the same time. And C, I'm not very directionally, I GPS my way to the 7-Eleven half the time. So if I was like, I'm going to fly to South America, I would never find it. So I would also need the power of GPS in order to help myself.
I think Google Maps works up there, so I think
there you go. Right. There you go, guys. Well said. Love the points. Thank you for humoring me, getting warmed up on Let's Get Nuts today with some Immortality talk. For those listening, for those tuning in on replay, what are your thoughts on Immortality? Is that something that you guys would be interested in having yourself in life, or would you rather have a different superpower? And if so, what would that be? Let me know in the comments below. Let's check in with the chat. We've got The Empire Strike says, hello everyone. Good to see you here, buddy. Thanks for joining in. Shiny is here. Wouldn't be a good show without you. Let's retrieve condiments. Fair. You could be Condiment King as your superpower, I think, Shiny. Tyria, Let's Get Nuts. Love to see it. We've got Yomo in the chat. Yomo, what's going on? We have got Thalia Meyer in the chat. Hey, everyone. We have also got my new girlfriend. Just putting it out there. I'll announce it live. Hannah is the girlfriend. I'm lucky guy.
Hey, how's it going,
lucky guy. She left here this morning, but she said she'd tune in, and she is, so I appreciate that. She says, happy long weekend and Sunday, everybody. I hope everyone is safe and well. We've got Tyria here in the chat. Would you go into cryo sleep if it were possible? Maybe, but again, same as like what Thomas was saying earlier about Winter Soldier. If you wake up in a period of time that then feels foreign, there's no going back, right? Or if you wake up in a time that's absolutely devastated in a world you wouldn't want to live in, then you're screwed. What do you do? Like, put me back in the cryo chamber? Like,
so that's another good, like, if you could, would you rather go into the future or into the past?
Ooh.
You know what? Because I think the past is cooler. The thing about cryo sleep, like, that makes me think it's cool is like things like Alien and Predator, and like, if that's what the future was like. But I don't think the future is going to be cool, so kind of want to go.
But the future could be like Futurama, where Fry was actually put into cryo sleep, and when he woke up, they had this whack out crazy future where they pick a thing for him and he's a delivery boy. I mean.
But see, there's a lot of creature comforts of the past that I think I would miss, or that we don't have, that we wouldn't have in the past if I went back in time, right? Like, I like my video games, I like my YouTube watching, I like creature comforts of strong electricity. Like I said, I'm not directionally very fitting, so without things like GPS technologies and stuff, I'd get lost everywhere I go. There's a lot of comforts of our current existence as well as the potential future that we're so used to now that despite the past seeming cool, I feel like we would feel like fish out of water. It would be hard for us to exist in a lot of ways. I guess it just depends on how far you go back. I could also picture you being a Viking, Eddie, at some point and getting out of a boat and being a badass. So, with that said, Badfish is also here in the chat with us. I've been literally watching last week's episode. Badfish has been watching all of the previous Let's Get Nuts episodes.
Oh, really?
Hopefully they are aging well. He did say that some of our predictions have come true, which is awesome. I'm sure there's lots that hasn't, but I'm glad you've been enjoying it, good sir. Thanks for watching us, of course. I think that's almost everybody. We got Action Figure Academy here as well. Good to see you, buddy. Payton23 is here. Hello, everyone. Good to see you. I think that's everybody for now. If I missed anybody, poke me and I will shout you out, of course. Now, guys, a little bit of a sad topic to start the show with, but then we'll get into some more entertainment news and some figure news. So this past week, Bob Barker has unfortunately passed away. I think he hit the age of 99, which is insane. Like, that is so close to 100. It's heartbreaking. Bob Barker was a huge aspect of childhood. After school, coming home, doing my homework, like, his show would always be on in the background. And then one of my favorite appearances of Bob Barker is in Happy Gilmore, when he gets into a fight with Happy. I love that he kicks his ass. It just makes me laugh every time. I've definitely fond memories of Bob here. Do you guys have any fond memories or that rival that or similar to that, Thomas or Eddie?
Oh, yeah. Back in the 70s when I was a kid, I'd say in 1970 I turned 8 years old, and I still remember watching The Price is Right, and, come on down, and I always imagined myself, running down there, and I would sit down there and I would always be guessing the prices to see if I could get the price right. But yeah, Bob Barker, I mean, he was such a laid back, cool person. And I love the fact that he always encouraged people to spay and neuter your pets. So about responsible pet ownership was something that I still carry with me today. And but yeah, he was the GOAT, and I really enjoyed him a lot.
Absolutely. It's cool that you have more history with him than even we would, right? Because you remember the 70s watching him.
Oh yeah,
that's pretty cool. That's old school for us now at this point, right? But
and then watching the Showcase Showdown and seeing if somebody got that, if they got either their showcase or they got within. I think if you got within. I can't remember what the amount was. Maybe it was within $100 or so. You got both of the showcases, which was kind of cool. So that was yeah. And then his little his show, the women who would actually show the prizes and stuff like that, who were they were the kind of the first ones that I recall where he actually had to showcase the showcase models, that's what I'll call them, I guess. Mm-hmm. But yeah, it was a cool show, and I always enjoyed Price is Right.
Well, thank you, Bob Barker, for bringing us showcase models. I appreciate that, and for your contribution, because again, very iconic. Any fond memories for you, Eddie, with regards to Bob here? Or?
I think it's Happy Gilmore for me.
Happy Gilmore too. Yeah.
The Price is Right. I don't remember. For me, Price is Right was the other dude with the glasses.
Oh yeah,
Jim Carrey.
Not Jim Carrey.
Yeah. Something Carrey,
Carrey.
Though, right?
Carrey. What the heck is his last name? First name. Oh my God, help us out in the chat.
But that, yeah,
I don't. Is his first name?
I don't know.
Drew Carey.
Oh, I don't know if I ever
down.
saw Price is Right with Bob Barker. For me, it was always, or at least what I can remember was him. So, for me, it's Happy Gilmore. That is an amazing scene. So.
Absolutely. And then, of course, we also lost Jimmy Buffett this week as well, from 1946 to 2023. So pretty long life as well. Again, the music from this man definitely resonates with my childhood because my dad loved Jimmy Buffett back in the day. Whenever we were going on a road trip, going camping or going to the beach, going on vacation, it was always Jimmy Buffett songs, Red Red Wine for whatever reason, Montego Bay for whatever reason, a lot of those types of getting ready for vacation music. But Margaritaville is obviously one of his most iconic, if not his most iconic songs. Definitely one that sticks with me most. One of the first songs I ever learned how to play on guitar, actually, when I was going through guitar lessons. Because it's a relatively simple song to learn how to play, and it gets your mind and your fingers used to playing on the strings. But same question for you guys. Does Jimmy Buffett stand out to you? Was this one that hit you at all, or not necessarily? I mean, again, everybody hits differently for everybody. So
yeah. Well, I have always been familiar with Jimmy Buffett. I didn't really follow a lot of his music, but I do know things like Margaritaville and everything like that. So I guess that with all of these older guys that are older people, rather, because we've lost a lot of women also, but just having them, and since most of them were alive throughout my entire lifeline, I can remember way back when well, in times that were well before a lot of you guys. And those are the things that I kind of carry with me, and it brings a smile to my face to say that, wow, I can remember when this was out, or when they did this, or when they did that. And but yeah, Margaritaville is the memory that I carry the most with me about Jimmy Buffett. But yeah, you know, I just like when I see the smile on his face, he was a guy who, to me, really had great love for what he did. And I always have appreciation for people who do what they love so well and share it with the world. And in turn, we get to enjoy it ourselves and have that love with us also. So, you know, even though I'm not as familiar with him in particular, I still smile when I think about him, because I think about all of his contributions and how even the little bit that I know about him still make me smile.
Absolutely. Well said, Thomas. Well said. Shiny, he says here, starts the show out with the benefits of immortality and immediately starts listing off people who have died. It sounds darker than it was intended. We'll put that out there. It sounds darker than it was intended. But this is the Ben Thomas Show. One of the things that I've said, the reason I even called it the Ben Thomas Show originally, was because I wanted to talk about things that I either thought were really cool, that meant something to me, or people, film, pop culture, entertainment, things that have made a difference in my life. And these two people that we just spoke about, as well as this young lady here, Arlene Sorkin, who was the voice of Harley Quinn in Batman the Animated Series, she passed away last week as well. And, you know, one of the things that I wanted to note for people who, you know, a lot of people know who Harley Quinn is, right? I mean, everybody knows. She's almost as iconic as the Joker at this point. I mean, they're in themselves kind of a dynamic duo. Arlene, the actual person, Harley Quinn was essentially modeled after. When Paul Dini was originally one of the showrunners of Batman the Animated Series, he was friends with Arlene. He saw her in Days of Our Lives play a jester in a dream sequence and thought she would be crazy as this character of Harley Quinn. And originally they only intended to do one episode, one appearance essentially with Harley Quinn, but because she was so well received and so many people loved her, she became a staple not only within that show, but obviously went on to inspire comics, other films, other actor representations of the Harley Quinn character, and so on. And now obviously Harley Quinn will go down in history. But it's all thanks to Arlene Sorkin. If it weren't for her, we would not have Harley. And so that one hit me real hard, because Batman the Animated Series for me is one of my favorite shows of all time. I used to watch that on repeat when I went through my recent, I call it a divorce. It wasn't quite a divorce, but still you get the idea. Batman the Animated Series was always on in the background as comfort food for me. It's just something that I've had in my life forever. So same question for you, Eddie, on this one. Was this one that resonated with you at all? Was Batman the Animated Series something that was big for you as a kid, or not necessarily?
I don't talk about this a lot because I don't want people to, like, I don't know, shit on me. People shit on me. Yeah, I know.
Eddie's about to get canceled.
I watched Batman the Animated Series, but not like religiously. Like, I couldn't go back and tell you certain episodes. I don't even know if I watched all of them. It was more like a casual when it was on, when like other cartoons that I liked was on. So yeah, I'm sure I remember watching like an episode here or there, and I remember the show. It wasn't like a staple for me. But Batman was never. I love Batman more now than I did when I was really young. Like, I was always a Superman kid, or like action guys, not even really like comic superhero guys. It was more like Arnold and stuff like that, and Sylvester Stallone and stuff. But is that so? Like, Harley wasn't in the original comic series, like when Joker and Batman were. Harley came from the animated series.
Yes.
Oh shit! I never knew that.
I didn't know
That's
that.
crazy.
Yep, that's where she was.
That's cool.
That's where her inception happened. And as I said, it all was thanks to Days of Our Lives, randomly, with her being in that as a jester and being just like super bubbly and crazy, and a cool cartoon character essentially that ended up becoming super iconic. So yeah, we learn something new every day. It's one of the reasons that I wanted to bring it up today. Again, not trying to be dark, looking to celebrate these folks because they were certainly iconic people in our lives.
You know, it's real funny. I didn't realize I've been staring at her picture because I was like, I know that actress from somewhere. And as soon as you said Days of Our Lives, I was like, oh, that's where I know her from. Because my mother, when she was living, she loved the soaps. The soaps were her thing. And especially during whenever we had a long holiday or over the summer, I remember Mom would be sitting there watching her soaps. Days of Our Lives was one of her shows. Yep. And I would sit there and watch it with her. And I remember Eileen Sorkin. And, you know, so it's really funny the places where we associate people, because I never knew that she was the model for Harley Quinn. But when you look at her face next to Harley's, that is her profile. That is her face.
Well,
I mean, it's amazing.
She even voiced Harley Quinn as long as up until about 2011 when the DC online video game was out, the DC Universe Online.
Wow.
That's when she actually retired from the voicing of Harley Quinn after that. And we've obviously had some Harley Quinn since. Margot Robbie is in live action. Kaylee Cuoco is in the new Harley Quinn, the animated series, which I've really enjoyed the show. Voice doesn't necessarily hold a candle to Arlene here, but I still think it's a good show. It's a little old school, or like, I should say not old school, but like it's definitely meant for older audiences. It's a little on the raunchy side, definitely a little violent, not for kids, just in case you're considering it, but still a fun watch. Pete, we talked a little bit about Bob Barker, a little bit about Jimmy Buffett, and now Arlene Sorkin. Any thoughts on there that you wanted to share before we move on into entertainment news today, good sir?
No, I'm good. Thanks. Rest in peace,
100%.
all the three of you.
100%.
Yeah.
I'm glad we can see you, by the way, and that you don't, in fact, have a half-melted face.
Yeah.
Really
Yeah.
good. So
I
sticking
need
with
to
Batman the
sort out this old tech that I'm running on.
All good. We're just happy to have you. Sticking with Batman the Animated Series, we're coming up on the 30th anniversary celebration of Batman Mask of the Phantasm. I don't want to necessarily go through the panel on this one, more so just kind of highlighting it. If you haven't had an opportunity to see this film, I definitely recommend going back and checking it out. There's a couple of animated series films from DC that were fantastic. This one is definitely up in my top 3, as well as Batman Under the Red Hood, which features kind of the storyline. I don't want to give it away, but features the storyline of Robin being killed by the Joker and coming back, and what happens from there. A very cool, very cool story. That and Flashpoint Paradox. I know that a lot of people didn't like the recent Flash film, but the DC animated film Flashpoint Paradox is the movie that new Flash movie I think should have been, for sure. But also, go ahead.
How old are you, Ben?
I'm 36, so I'm an 87 baby.
So maybe I'm too young for the Batman animated series. Maybe
Possibly. You liked Gargoyles, right?
Yeah, I did. But it was
Yeah.
it was a late night or early morning cartoon for me. Like when they played the older cartoons. Because I was looking up like when it ran, and even season 4 was 95. I would have been 3. So I don't know. Maybe that's why I don't remember it as much as a lot of people do.
No, that's fair.
It's like I feel bad about that kind of stuff. Like why don't I like this stuff more? You know, like, or why don't I remember more of this? I guess it's just.
It's amazing to me how artistic the show was, though. Even the first, like, if you go back and watch even the first 5 episodes of Batman the Animated Series, like, just the artistic approach that it had. It was the first time they'd ever drawn comics on black background, so that's what kind of gave it that, like, that film noir type of feel to it. Really cool. Gargoyles did a similar thing. It was a slightly newer animation at the time when it came. But one of the reasons I love Gargoyles was not only did it fit kind of the thematic like darkness that Batman the Animated Series kind of had, it was a really well done story. And for the Star Trek nerds in the chat there, you'll know that most of the voices in Gargoyles were actually voiced by actors who were also in Star Trek. So I always loved hearing those voices. It always felt like little Easter eggs for me. But yeah, age plays a factor, of course, Eddie. That makes sense. The Dark Knight trilogy is returning to theaters for Batman Day on September the 16th. Now, The Dark Knight specifically is, I think, the one film that I've seen the most in theaters in my life. I have 14 ticket stubs still from when it was out back in 2008. I only saw The Dark Knight Rises 5 times. Only 5 times. Still a lot of times to go see a movie that's 3 hours long. But The Dark Knight for me was by far the most I've ever watched any movie in theater in my entire life. And I will 100% be getting my tickets to go back to see this film trilogy again on the big screen. Pete, what do you think about Batman Day coming up? Is this one that you would be stoked to check out?
I do like the trilogy. I'm not as mad about it as some of you guys, and I don't collect the figures and everything. But yeah, I think it would be a great experience. Like local cinema to me is doing the Lord of the Rings extended trilogy, and as much as it in on paper it seems like a good idea, I don't know, spending 13 hours in the cinema with other people, and sometimes they're okay, sometimes they're not. I've never really done one of these marathon jobs at the cinema, and I think having, if you've got a projector and stuff set up at home, it just is a lot more appealing to stick it on your own screen, and like as Thomas said, you can go for a bathroom break whenever you need to, and as you get older, it's harder to hold it in.
This is not where I expected this question to go. You hate to see incontinence. It's all.
Yeah. I think it's cool, and I'm sure if you're going, Ben, you'll have a great time. But
I'm going to 100%. I'm going to go in my pajamas, though. I'm going to get like a really big bag of chocolate nuts. It's going to be insane.
Yeah,
Jesus.
You have a little kit. Yeah, how long a break do you get between each movie? Do you know? Or
I don't know.
Oh, is it like a 3 in the same?
Well, I mean, it's
kind of
returning to
thing?
theater, so you can do it that way, I'm sure, if you want to, or you can probably break them up a little bit.
Yeah, you might have to slip on a catheter.
There might be.
As big of a Dark Knight fan as I am, I don't know if I could do it all in one go. That would be
I see. I
hell of a day.
I just assumed it was all or nothing. That's all. But you think they might be separately shown,
I would hope so, because otherwise, you said, that's going to be it's a really long day. When Return of the King, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King came out, that was back before. Again, aging myself, but that was back before you could lock in your seat ahead of time. So you'd have to go and stand in line. And back then, they lined you up out front of the movie theater like you were, waiting for the bar, right? And so we showed up to that movie, friends and I, 4 hours before just to get a good enough seat in the film. And then the movie was a 4-hour film. So that was an 8-hour Lord of the Rings day. Too long for this guy. Although Batman might be a little different for me. But still, even Batman, the first time I saw The Dark Knight in theaters was actually at the midnight showing. The night, midnight of the night of its release, and so watching that movie till 3 o'clock in the morning on my first viewing was also a little crazy. But Eddie, is this one that you'd go back to theaters to check out, especially if you missed it back in the day, or did you catch it back in the day and you'd skip it?
I'd definitely go check it out again. I seen all 3 of them in theaters when I was younger. I remember The Dark Knight especially just because that was during the time when, the dude went to the theater dressed as the Joker and, killed a bunch of people. So I remember being scared as shit when I was watching it because I was, worried. I was, looking. I kept checking behind my shoulder, is there any crazy people here? But I remember that was, big back then. That was before we had, kind of sucks nowadays. I bet you didn't think it would take this turn either, Ben, but I'm sorry. This is what I remember. So, nowadays, unfortunately that's common, mass things like that, but
that's fucked.
That back then it was super rare, I feel like. So that was big news, and I remember that when I was going to watch it. So, and I think I saw it I saw Dark Knight for sure 3 or 4 times, and I remember sneaking in to see it once or twice with my brother because my brother was not old enough to watch it, I don't think. So I remember I think I bought my ticket and then snuck him and his girlfriend in with me. I remember doing that. So, but it's definitely something I'll go back and watch again. I love the Dark Knight trilogy.
It's weird though, because I remember thinking to myself the last viewing of The Dark Knight in theaters, thinking this will be the last time I ever see Heath on the big screen again. And not thinking that in the future they would just re-release them in theaters like they've done with Star Wars and Indiana Jones and Jurassic Parks and like they typically do it every so long. So what about you, Thomas? Is this one you'd revisit the theater for, or do you like the comfort of a bathroom and snacks and devil's lettuce or whatever you partake in at home?
Yeah, I got the box set. I'm good.
I've
got a box set. I've got a microwave with my microwave popcorn. So, I can I've got the box set to the Batman trilogy. I've got the box set to the Star Wars, the New Hope stuff. So, I can watch those whenever I want to. So, yeah, I don't know. When you got a 55-inch screen and a great sound system and a couch.
Thomas is flexing. You love to see it.
Yeah, to me that's is a little bit better than kind of sitting in a theater with a bunch of people breathing cooties on you. So
Breathing cooties.
So Eddie, then Eddie or Thomas or both. Is there a different Batman movie you would have rathered see come back to theaters then for Batman Day, other than this?
Which one, Ben? Would I have rather? No, I would have. This I could. Look,
We know.
I love. Yeah, I know. I love that movie, but I can't sit. I wouldn't be able to sit through the theater and watch it.
For Batman Forever?
Yeah,
Batman Forever? Just so people know, Eddie loves Batman Forever. That's what I'm poking fun of him at. But I love it too. So.
Definitely this, because it's a good movie and it's super iconic for Batman. Like
that's fair.
Now I do a double feature. I do the Keaton Batman, Batman, and then the one afterwards because. It's mainly for the villains. I mean, Jack Nicholson's Joker, to me, was spectacular. I still think that Heath Ledger did it in a way that made it feel iconic to me, but there was just something about Jack Nicholson. He kind of owned it at the time. But then Michelle Pfeiffer and Danny DeVito in the second one, that was classic. And there's something kind of fun and weird and quirky about the way that Tim Burton did those movies. I wasn't sure I was going to like a Tim Burton version of it because he's so weird. But then the more I thought about it, I said, you know what? That's exactly what I like. I like weird stuff. So the fact that he kind of made things a little bit bizarre kind of fit my wheelhouse. So I think that if I was going to do that, I'd do a double feature and do those two. But then I would come to my basement and put in the box set for the trilogy.
Love to see it.
Yeah.
I love to see it. Now, with Barbie overtaking Batman numbers here from WB domestically, do you feel like that could be a reason why we're seeing this come back? Is this going to count towards the WB numbers and try and overtake Barbie again? No, it's my tinfoil hat theory. I don't think so for real, but
they'll count them. They'll definitely count them. And how many times did they re-release Titanic and Avatar and stuff like that?
You're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong. They're like, we can't let Barbie win. Put Dark Knight back in theaters.
Yeah.
I did see Barbie though last weekend with Hannah, and I did enjoy it quite a bit. In fact,
me too.
I was shocked how thought provoking it ended up being, and how there were so many quiet parts in the film that also were like they wanted you to think about what was happening, which I appreciated. I thought it was really well done, surprisingly, and unsurprisingly, because it's done so well and critically been very well reviewed. Now, this popped up. I'll keep it brief on this because I know a lot of people didn't love the Flash film. I specifically didn't even really like this character all that much in the movie. I thought that they could have written this character out entirely and it would have still been about the same film. Dark Flash didn't have a ton of weight, but for those listening on audio, we're looking at a slide here that says Dark Flash's practical suit revealed. The behind the scenes version looks better than the movies, and some of these photos are that's kind of true. It actually does look pretty cool in terms of practical effects. In fact, I almost think that if they'd given us the hot toy after seeing this version, if we'd had an opportunity to see something a little more practical, I might have been more interested. But what do you think, Eddie, with regards to the Dark Flash here? Is this a figure that you would have thought about putting in your collection if it had had more weight or impact to you in the film? Or didn't care about the character at all, doesn't really matter for you, the practical effects?
Maybe. I thought, like, I understood the idea behind it and the way the villain, like, portrays, like, that he himself is the villain. Like, he created his own villain, that, you know? So I like that kind of storyline. So I thought it was cool. I don't know if I'd get the character, because I don't know if I like the look of the character. Like, I don't know. It's kind of weird for me, but I think I'm one of the few people that enjoyed the Flash film, so I hope that they make everything that they showed from it, just because I enjoyed it, but I don't know if I'd get it.
In terms of box office numbers, obviously it didn't do very well. And then I think they were banking on at least a digital win, and they've released it now on digital, and it's also flopping there as well. I did rewatch it though for the second time the other night, and well, like, I found it like mildly entertaining. I didn't hate it by any stretch. I don't know if I would go back and watch it a third time now though. I feel like I've seen it. The Keaton parts for me were the standout pieces. That's what really got me into the theater initially, was to see Keaton again. You know, when we're talking about earlier, what Batman film would you rather see? Well, I agree that Keaton film for me would bring me back into the theater. Keaton still didn't bring enough people back in the Flash, unfortunately, despite him being one of the biggest pulls for a lot of folks in that movie. So, you know, The Dark Knight still holds a lot of power there. With regards to the Flash here, though, Pete, is seeing the practical effects make you want the figure a little bit more? Because they have teased that we might get a Dark Flash, but we haven't seen an official announcement yet. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, it looks quite cool in these pictures, but to be fair, and this might come across a bit, I don't really remember him in the film, to be fair.
Very short part.
I didn't mind the film. Yeah, I didn't mind the film. I thought it was good. I enjoyed Keaton's performance, but I think that's kind of pretty much 99% of the reason that I went to see that. So I might be a little bit sketchy on the actual plot and some of the details. So I don't really remember him. I mean, yeah, the suit looks pretty cool, but it's very niche in terms of like having it as a figure. You've got to be a massive Flash fan, I think, to have this guy. You know, but yeah, it's all right. They put some work into it, definitely.
Oh, totally. Peyton23 here is also saying Reverse Flash would have been better, in my opinion. I agree. I think it would have made more sense with the killing of his mom. However, that might have opened up the need for another film, which clearly they're not going to do with this particular DCE universe. So I think that they were trying to put a bit of a bow on it and not leave much opened up. Despite, again, like, if you'd rather see that storyline, Peyton, if you haven't watched Flashpoint Paradox, go back and check that out. Really, really good. Even season 1 and season 2 of CW Flash touched on Reverse Flash, I thought, very, very well.
Yeah.
What were your
But
thoughts?
you know what would have been really cool about Reverse Flash, if as a character? It would have been if the Reverse Flash could only run backwards.
Oh my god.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, you got the Flash, he runs forward. Reverse Flash runs backward. That would have been a. I just thought of that. I said that.
I don't think that would look very cool, Thomas. But I do like where your head is at. I'm not gonna lie.
in the show, when he's doing the time travel, when he runs so fast that he's doing the actual going back in time, it does start to look like he's running backwards,
rolling backwards.
So, yeah.
Okay.
That's for sure. Now, Thomas, I know you said that you actually had enjoyed She-Hulk from my recollection of our previous conversations here. Slide says, She-Hulk Attorney at Law Season 2 is reportedly in the works at Marvel Studios. Hard to quantify what that means, because obviously we've got an actor's strike right now and a writer's strike, so hard to know how much work is actually being done. Now, I had been initially excited for Season 1, watched Season 1, there were parts of Season 1 that I liked. I did consider getting the She-Hulk hot toy figure, but talked myself out of it, which I'm still kind of on the fence for. Like, I think once that one comes out and you start seeing it in hand with people's collections, might tip me over the edge for sure. One of my favorite parts was seeing her with Daredevil. I thought there were some great comedic moments in there as well. And, you know, of course, getting Hulk smashed is never a bad thing. Let's be honest.
Right.
But Season 2, I was like, I don't necessarily care for another season going forward. Like, Season 1 felt like they did what they were trying to do. I was okay with just leaving it at that. Having said that, there's been a lot of criticism of Season 1. So I think season 2 could actually be pretty good if they take some of the criticisms that they, heard from people and viewers, and actually maybe make some tweaks and turn this into a really solid second season. So Pete, what do you think? If Marvel comes at us hard and gives us an amazing season 2 of She-Hulk, do you feel like that will make up for the first season and people's feelings on it? Or do you think it's too far gone at that point? Do you think that they should put their resources elsewhere?
But I didn't even manage one episode. I think I might have managed the first episode. I didn't like it, and what is this? I mean, this Daredevil looks shit. It looks like he's just bought like a puffer jacket or something from the store. And I don't know. Does that not look really kind of like?
It did look cooler in the show, in my opinion, but but maybe
and the figure looks cool also. I don't know what happened to this. This photo was really bad.
Look like a superhero suit to me. I couldn't get into it, and I pushed it aside. So I couldn't care less either way, mate. I'd rather they put resources into something else. Yeah, definitely. And I'm really interested to see what Disney are cooking up with Doctor Who.
No doubt. In fact, we should let's save that for a special in the coming weeks, because I want to talk about that a little bit myself. Would any of these types of red and yellow suits jive with you a little bit more? Because I mean, I don't think this one looks that bad necessarily. I think that particular screen grab looked a little rough. I would have rather see a yellow and red suit maybe looking a little bit more like this, a little more classic. But
with a big
see, the classic one, that's me.
For sure. Because otherwise, I did like the red suit for him. I do think the Hot Toys is still going to be a pretty cool figure. I'm not going to lie. But I don't know. What about you, Eddie? Did you like the first season of She-Hulk? If not, do you think season 2 could make up for the first season if they come in, listen to criticism, and crush it, or do you think it's too little, too late?
I liked parts of it, like you. I did like I liked the actress, and I liked the way She-Hulk looked. Like, a lot of people were shitting on the CGI. I guess I don't notice shit like that, because I thought it was fine. Like, and I think that's what draws me to the Hot Toys. I did like the way she looked. I hated Daredevil in this show.
You didn't like him?
Absolutely. No,
his action scene was pretty cool. Throwing shit around, but
they made him a joke, and I fucking hated that. My biggest thing that I hate about this show is that they started. To me, it seems like they're starting to troll fans that actually like their own shit. Like, the end of this show was a huge troll, and I like, why would you troll the fans? I know there's some toxic fans out there, and they're not helping the hobby either. But like, when you start to troll your own fans, that shit annoys me, man. So that's kind of like what Taika does with Thor, and I fucking hate that. And I feel like this show did that. But I did. When it started, I was like, I'm going to enjoy this show. Like, I think the first 2 or 3 episodes, I was like, I'm actually going to like this. When it had Hulk and She-Hulk and the whole cousin banter, and I liked the actress, so I was like, I'm going to enjoy it. And then having Daredevil, he did have some cool action scenes. It's just the joke part of it that I didn't like. And I liked the suit. I love Charlie Cox as Daredevil, so all of that was cool to me. But yeah, I could care less about them. Only because I feel like it's just going to further that joke, with season 2. So if they came back and made it amazing, and obviously that would be cool, but I don't think that'll happen.
If anybody out there listening, either live or on, replay later, has never seen the first season of the Netflix Daredevil show, I definitely recommend going back and watching it. There is a scene in the second episode of that show where he's fighting in a black outfit in a hallway, and it is one of the coolest fight scenes I've ever seen in any show. Definitely go and check that out if you get an opportunity. But yeah, I think this could be good. I think that they could recount for some of those issues. I agree with the trolling piece, though, Eddie. There was a lot of that end of that season that was kind of like they felt like they were making fun of us.
Help me with this. I still don't really. All right, and it could be because I'm old. What do you mean by trolling? I really don't understand.
Kind of like making fun of their own audience.
When they make things such a joke that it's obvious that they're joking with how they made it. Like when she goes into Feige's office and Feige's a robot. It's it's so goofy that it was obviously made to be goofy. That's kind of them saying,
Be like, oh, this
we
is
don't
like,
take this.
Oh, this is the
seriously
fan
at all."
theories. This is
Yeah.
the fan theory. Look at us.
And see, I kind of felt that part was going back to some of her original comic book origins because, like Daredevil, like Deadpool, she also breaks the fourth wall.
Yeah.
And so that's how I interpreted that. Now I did think that scene was kind of. I felt that was unnecessary, but I was okay with it because she breaks the fourth wall. I just felt like they could have done it in a better way than having the Feige machine. I'm like, well, that part I kind of was like, eh. But I mean, there have been times where Deadpool and I think even She-Hulk, where they have broken the fourth wall, where the artist was actually drawing them as they were breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Which was kind of, I'm like, oh, okay. And so it kind of took me to that kind of comic book feel of where it was. I can understand it if people were upset if they felt like they were making fun of the property.
I'm all for a good fourth wall break, Thomas, for sure, because
Yeah.
I agree with you on that. It's one of my favorite aspects of Deadpool, but I would say that, like, here it was like, the fans are expecting She-Hulk to have a fourth wall break, so let's kind of jam this in and see what happens. And I think that upset people because it was like, did it make sense for the story, or were they just adding it because this is something that fans would expect or make fun of us for? So that a little bit of the trolling there, I think, like Eddie was
I get
saying.
that.
But sticking with trolling though, Nightmare Before Christmas live action. Johnny Depp's in talks to star in the Nightmare Before Christmas live action movie. Now, I honestly don't know if this is real. Jose G. Hernandez out there tends to correct me on fake news. I like the concept of fake news, even if it is, because it begs the question, is this needed? If this is real, does anybody want this? Pete, what do you think about a Nightmare Before Christmas live action film?
The animated one is an absolutely perfect movie. I absolutely adore it. I love the songs. I love the animation. It's brilliant, and I've loved it since the first time I saw it. And I've not really been impressed with any of the Disney live action remakes, to be honest. I thought Beauty and the Beast was okay. I think that was one of the early ones. Like Jungle Book looked good from the CGI, but it was just felt a little bit sort of didn't have a lot of soul to it, and I would certainly not want to see this. Definitely not. I hope it's not true.
Did you watch the Netflix Jungle Book?
I didn't.
The more recent one. That one's fucking dark.
Is it?
Yeah, I think. Yeah,
That one had a dark. Yeah. I was like, oh shit. So check that one out if you have.
Yeah, probably more like the original, the original story. Yeah, before it got Disneyfied. But please don't let this be real.
Absolutely. We got Collector Joey in the chat here as well. Good to see you here, buddy.
Joey.
If you haven't already subscribed to Collector Joey, please go over and do so. He's on the road. I think he said he was trying to hit 7,000 in the next couple months here. He's just over 5,000 now. So congratulations there. Awesome YouTube channel. By the way, Joey, if you ever want to join us on a Let's Get Nuts, just poke me on the private chat, and we'll bring you in at some point.
Yeah,
for sure.
I think I'm going to be hanging with Joey this coming Thursday if I'm right, Joey.
Very nice.
Might correct me on that.
Very nice. We also have S Beam here in the chat. We didn't get to say hi to earlier, as well as Niculio. He says, "Nope, stop now." Pete, I do have one follow-up question, and then we'll ask Thomas here. Mm-hmm. Is this a Christmas movie or is it a Halloween movie?
It's both, mate, and it can be watched every day between the two. There's no rules on that. It's both.
That's fair. Thomas, what do you think about a live-action Nightmare Before Christmas film? Is this the movie that people have been waiting for, that they don't even realize? Or should we say, no, stop now, like Niculio said?
Okay. First, I have never seen The Nightmare Before Christmas.
Oh.
So now I may have to go to Disney Plus and check it out. But
that's your homework for next week.
Okay.
Okay.
But I am very familiar with Tim Burton and his work, and I know that he and Johnny Depp are great friends, and that he loves to have him in his movies. I don't know why Tim Burton would want to do a live adaptation of a piece of work that people cherish, that he already did. And it doesn't really make sense. Secondly, I don't know why Johnny Depp would have anything to do with Disney after what they put him through, after ditching him from pirates and everything. But I don't think anybody really wants this. And Pete, you're right. I don't think that I've seen one good adaptation of these classic animated films. And it's, I think that what they need to do, instead of redoing their old stuff, they need to be finding new properties and developing them into animated films, because their animated films for the most part don't miss. But I don't know, something about the way Disney approaches bringing these things to live action, it just, I don't know, if they're just not able to make the translation very easily. Much like problems with a lot of the Netflix properties that they've been doing, where they brought animated films into live action and they have failed with it, is a very difficult thing to do unless you have a team that is very, very committed to being as over the top as you need to without going too far over the top. I think that balance is what people are looking for, because there's some things that you see in animation that you just don't see in real life, and just trying to find that middle ground where you can say, you know what, I could see a human being possibly doing this, but it's a little far out for me to really truly dig into it. But I can also say, yeah, but that looks really, really cool. So I think that those are going to be some things he'll struggle with. But you know, Tim Burton's a great talent, and I think he thinks he can do it. I just don't know if this is what anybody wants or needs.
I don't think anybody actually wants or needs this, to be fully honest. You know, Jose G. Hernandez, who is our fact checker over here on Let's Get Nuts most of the time, which I appreciate. You just shitting on the dream, okay, Jose? You just shitting on the dream. But he says it's not real. Rumor comes as a satire post from Inside the Magic. I suspected it was fake news, for the record. But he also does say exactly, Classy Thomas. Depp said that he didn't want to work with Disney after that, which is fair. I like it as a thought exercise, because there's a lot of movies that I feel like they revisit the well on, including a lot of these live action adaptations that you guys were talking about, that for me don't ever seem to hit that nostalgia factor that the old ones do. One of the things that I feel like you got to see with this film, Thomas, is not only the music is wonderful and whimsical, but it's claymation. For its time, it was astounding to watch. Like, they did an amazing job with it, and that for me was part of the magic of that film alone. Seeing the screen grab, again, obviously not real, but like, these characters don't look cute or fun or necessarily lovable. They look like they're trying to be live action, which it is, but it's like, it doesn't have that same appeal to me. Eddie, was Nightmare Before Christmas for you a Christmas movie or a Halloween movie, before we move on? And oh, by the way, do you think we need this? Do you think this should become real news, not fake news?
I love this because it's from my childhood. My mom loves this movie too much. Like, there's people that love this. I love it. It's not like I don't need to collect from it. I don't need to, like, it's cool to go see. But I will say I like the Christmas aspect of it more than the Halloween. So like at Disneyland during Christmas, they'll change it to the Christmas part, the ride of the Haunted Mansion, to the Nightmare Before Christmas. And so for me, it always feels more Christmassy than Halloween.
Okay.
Sure. And here, so the only one live action that I will say is as good, if not better, than the original is Alice in Wonderland.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
The original Alice in Wonderland is one of the earlier Disney movies, and that one is a little weird. Like, if you sit back and watch, it's a little, like, it's an interesting movie, the cartoon, and then the way Tim Burton designed it for the first movie is amazing. I love that first film. I
Yeah,
think there's two now, and I don't think that two
Yeah, it wasn't.
has the same love as the first one, but I really do love the
No.
first one more than the animated. And I think the only time that these movies do come out great is when Tim Burton does them, and like when Depp is attached to it. I feel like he has that whimsical to where he can capture that thing that Thomas is talking about, where it's like still whimsical but still like you feel like that world can exist in live action. So I know that this is so loved that people would be skeptical, but I also think if it has the best chance at success, it's with him and Johnny Depp in it. Aladdin was good, but it doesn't hit. They didn't have Robin Williams. You can't hit the same. I think Will Smith did a great job of almost hitting that, but it just doesn't hit the same way as the original. But I would be open to the idea of this being real if it was Tim Burton and Johnny Depp. I think it could be successful. So
Good points, buddy. Well said. Well said. Collector Joey here has provided us at the Ben Thomas Show a $1.99 super chat. He says, "Thank you for always being so kind." Thank you for the super chat, good sir. Definitely not required at all. Also, I did see your comment earlier that you're only at 4,000, not 5,000 yet. So, fake fan, you hate to see it. I apologize. Let's get Joey to 5,000 first, and then we'll hit the road to 7,000. Wow. How does that sound? But Joey, for you, let's give you a... Thanks for the super chat, good sir. We definitely appreciate it here. I am putting all super chats that come through back into the channel. I do want to get a better camera for figure photography and stuff like that for other aspects of the show, not just on the live show. So anything that gets put to the show will go back to the show. I definitely appreciate you.
Just to jump on something I heard Eddie mention, Haunted Mansion. I saw the new film yesterday. I really enjoyed it.
Did you like it?
Good.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I did. Yeah. It was very very entertaining, and also had quite a a nice heart to it as well. And I think it was definitely better than the first.
Better than the first.
Yeah.
That was Eddie Murphy was on the first one. I think.
I started watching that one again to remind myself, and it's just very. It's okay, and it looks alright for a film that's 20 years old, but it's too Eddie Murphy. It's he kind of derails it a bit, I think. It's too much, they obviously had it as a vehicle for him, and I think his career was kind of waning by then, and he went on to make some really shitty movies and stuff like that. So but the new one, it's got Rosario Dawson in it, and Owen Wilson, and Danny DeVito's hilarious. I love him. He's brilliant. So yeah, go and see it. I was surprised it was better than
that is my favorite ride at the Disney parks of all time. I mean, actually, I think that is my favorite ride that I've ever been on, is the Haunted Mansion. Especially when you go into that first room and it stretches, and that's just so much fun. I'm reliving it right now. It's just so much fun.
That's awesome. Excellent. Guys, we have one more piece of entertainment news to quickly chat about before we get into some figure news, because we do still have quite a bit of figure news to discuss. We got about an hour left of the show. We have 30 people watching live right now. Thank you for tuning into the Ben Thomas Show. If you can hit the like button just to gain some traction on the video so other people see it, it is also definitely appreciated over here. And subscribe to all the guys down below me who have a YouTube channel, because it would not be a good show without these guys. Me sitting here talking about fake news by myself, nobody wants that. So I love these guys, and thank you for sticking through the show here. Now, Pete, I want to stick with you on this one, because I know you're a pig. I sounded like I said pig. I said big.
Yeah.
Okay.
What's the
clarity?
Pig.
I heard pig.
Yeah.
I mean,
You are a big Star Wars fan 90% of the time when I speak to you.
Yeah.
Very quick thoughts on Ahsoka, but then I want to know, what are the rules of a lightsaber? So what do you think of Ahsoka, first of all, if you've seen the first 3 episodes?
I think
spoilers,
it's okay.
Just overall.
Yeah. No, I think it's okay. I'd give it 7.5. It's entertaining. Don't mind it. It's doing that weird thing where the running time of each episode is just completely all over the place. To the extent where some of the shorter ones, feel like they don't really achieve much in that shorter runtime. But yeah, it's okay. It's not bad, and I've enjoyed the lightsaber battles in there. So now you want to know the rules of a lightsaber.
Yeah, so my question for you is, after we've seen Darth Vader impale Reva,
Yeah.
we've seen Reva impale the Grand Inquisitor, we've seen, I can't remember this character's name, impale Sabine Wren in Ahsoka.
Mm-hmm.
Then this poor bastard died. Like, was this like 5 minutes before the Bacta tank was invented? Or like, what happened here?
Yeah.
What are the true rules of a lightsaber? Should this kill a person at this point? Are Star Wars beyond this? Are we starting to feel frustrated with the fact that stuff like this doesn't kill characters anymore? What do you think?
Yeah, it's kind of like the second that Sabine got impaled with that, I said to my son, she'll be alright.
She'll be
Remember,
fine. She'll be fine.
Fennec Shand had a robotic stomach put in. It doesn't seem like it's a fatal blow anymore. And it's that's the way that Han went as well. From
That's right. Well, I mean, the fall might have killed
isn't
him too, but the fall probably.
Well, yeah.
Because now that we know a lightsaber won't kill you, we probably fucking felt it all the way down the hole. You hate to see it.
Yeah, we never know whether that actually killed him and it was just the fall or not, just the shock of it. Yeah, I think it's a bit pointless, isn't it? Because you just think they're not going to die.
It just depends on the strength of the character. It's like if the character is needed in future episodes, then it seems like the risk factor is then suddenly gone.
Yeah, or whether it misses major organs.
But when you can melt a steel door with a lightsaber at the same time, it's like, well, how does that science work? My thoughts so far on Ahsoka have been, I'm surprised people aren't liking it more. After the first episode, I sat back in my chair and said to Hannah, I was like, oh, I feel like this is the Star Wars people have been kind of waiting for, especially if they were Rebels fans. I haven't watched Rebels yet. It's actually inspired me to go back and start it.
I haven't.
But I feel like for me, I'm not as emotionally connected to some of these characters like I could have been if I'd watched Rebels. But even still, I was like, this feels very Star Warsy. Like, the pacing felt very Star Warsy to me. I felt like there was some great battles, some like great lightsaber work. I really liked the Dark Jedi characters. I think they're really cool. Clearly, I'm going colorblind because it was lost on me that they were initially orange lightsabers and not just red ones. But still, I think that they're really, really cool characters. And rest in peace, Ray Stevenson as well, because he's an awesome character. I'm so sad that we're not going to get a chance to see more of him in future series. But I thought more people would like it. And sometimes I feel like it's the cool thing to do lately to hate on Star Wars. It's like, are we going to like this series in 10 years from now because we're going to look back and be like, oh, that was a classic show? Or are people still going to have some of the hate in their hearts for it? Hard to say, but to me, being somebody who is new to the Ahsoka character and somebody who hasn't seen Rebels, I liked it enough to keep tuning in at least next week, despite this last short episode. Eddie, what do you think of Ahsoka so far? Kind of brief over thoughts, and do you think the lightsaber thing is getting a little ridiculous at this point?
I'm enjoying it. It's the nostalgia for me that I'm enjoying, though. So if I wasn't a Rebels fan, I may be bored with it, because like the hyperspace whales are super cool to me to see those, and to see all the characters that I love from animation and live action is really cool. And Rebels and Clone Wars, I didn't see those until 2020, and those became like my favorite Star Wars anything. So I think that's more why I love it. And then when she got stabbed, I like immediately was like they're gonna kill her off in the first episode? Like, what? So in my head, I'm still like, when they get stabbed, they should be dead. I understand that they're saving these people, but in my head, once they get stabbed like that, I'm like, oh, they're dead. So it's like, I don't know how I feel. And I feel for Qui-Gon because he was my boy and they fucking killed him. So I'm like, damn, dude, if they could all survive, what the hell, man? That's messed up.
If they hadn't already shown the guy as a Force ghost, I would almost hope that they would bring him back at some point and be like, surprised. I mean, we saw Darth Maul get cut in half and tossed down a tube, and he still came back in Solo.
And he fell. You're
He
saying
fell.
Han fell. He
Yeah.
fell just like Han. So
Yeah, I don't know what I'm more impressed with, the fact that he got cut in half and survived, or survived the fall after being cut in half. It's hard to say, but I don't know. Thomas, I know
which
you're
is
not
the-
a huge Star Wars guy. Have you caught Ahsoka yet, by chance?
Not yet, but I'm thinking I'm gonna check it out. But which is the guy who, or the one who died? Is it the guy with his hands on his hips?
Yeah, Qui-Gon
Yeah.
Jinn
Okay.
from
you know
Phantom
what?
Menace back in the day.
I see. Well, this is probably what happened. Before he started the fight, he probably stepped on the nail and died of gangrene.
Oh my god.
yeah.
So
All
it
right.
wasn't lightsaber; it was the gangrene.
That's Thomas's theory. We're sticking with it.
Yeah.
Qui-Gon Jinn had gangrene in Star Wars: The Phantom Menace. Prove me wrong, Jose G. Hernandez. Okay, prove me wrong, good sir, if you're still watching. Guys, let's get into some figure news, but I want to cap it or start it off with discussion a little bit about One Piece. Not only now being a new Netflix show that's actually getting some pretty good reviews so far, and kind of making me want to tune in and check it out, seeing some of these side-by-side images of the anime versions of their characters, I'm like, okay, they're really going back to what looks like a pretty faithful adaptation of the original manga series. Now, for those of you who aren't aware of One Piece overall as an animated, or an anime series, I should say, this show is or not show, but this anime series has won some major awards over its lifespan. It's been one of the longest running, if not the longest running, manga series now to date. I think a lot of people, especially Hot Toys collectors and people in Canada, US, some places in Europe, look at the figure and the show and kind of go, I don't know what the heck that is. Who's going to want that? I think the answer is a lot of people are going to want that, especially if the Netflix series as a live adaptation of that show or series does well. So, Thomas, let's start with you on both One Piece here, the show, if you've tuned in yet, and what are your thinking or thoughts now on the figures from Hot Toys that we're getting?
Okay. I'm excited to talk about it, so yeah, I'm ready.
So tell us about the show first. What do you think about the show so far?
Yesterday I caught the first 2 episodes, and when I watched episode number 1, all right, well, my entry into One Piece actually started just a little bit over a year ago, because I was watching Cartoon Network, where they do Adult Swim on Saturday nights, and they were playing some of the newer episodes of One Piece, which is very weird, by the way. I mean, they're very, very weird, but I loved it. I was like, oh man, what is this weird show? And so I also am subscribed to Funimation. So I said, well, I think I'm gonna go back to the beginning and start watching some of those episodes. Of course, not knowing that there was almost 2,000 episodes to go through. Wow. But I said I could at least start at the beginning and start catching up. So I caught the beginning, and this first episode so faithfully captured the first 10 or 15 episodes of One Piece from the anime. I was like, I remember that scene. And the things that they, of course, there's some things that you have to kind of cut out, but they didn't cut out anything that I felt was totally necessary. They kept all the essential things, and I think they maybe added a thing or two that wasn't there, but they all made sense. And the actors and actresses that they hired, when I look at them, I say, as soon as they came on the screen, I said, oh, that's so-and-so. I knew exactly who they were. As a matter of fact, the guy who plays Zoro, I'm not going to try and pronounce it. I always get tongue-tied on the Roro. His name is something Zoro. And I call him Zoro. That is actually Sonny Chiba's son. The martial art. As a matter of fact, if any of you are familiar with Quentin Tarantino's films, in particular Kill Bill Volume 1, Sonny Chiba was the guy in when the bride went to Okinawa to get her to have him make a sword for her. That was Sonny Chiba. and he's
I didn't know that. That's cool.
Yeah, he's an extremely well-known martial artist and actor. I think as a matter of fact, I think he recently died. I think maybe in 2001 of COVID or something. But he was very, very well known in martial arts things. But this is Zorro is actually played by his son, and they really captured who he was. He was kind of like that cool, I don't talk much kind of dude. Luffy is this optimistic, cheery, sunny side up guy. But the thing I liked about the development of their characters is that, and what they're doing is that they're also doing flashbacks, which are showing you a little bit about what makes them who they are. And so what's really nice is that you see them, but you also see that, like him, behind his hard exterior, you can see that Zorro actually is very loyal and has a heart of gold. You can tell he really is fond of and really cares for Luffy. And he didn't mean to, and he didn't want to, because he hates pirates and he's a pirate capturer. But he likes Luffy. And the same thing with Nomi. Nomi didn't want to be associated with him, but he's kind of like, Luffy is like that character that just draws you in with his infectious joy and cheerfulness. And even though he wants to be a pirate, he's not trying to be an evil or a bad pirate. He's like, he just wants to treasure hunt, basically. And so what is happening is that there is this pirate, I think his name was Captain Morgan. And Captain Morgan, no, I'm sorry, Captain Morgan is the leader of well, not that one, but Captain Morgan. The Captain Morgan over here, he's actually the leader of the Marines. But there was another captain. This captain got captured and was killed at the beginning of the first episode.
His name's Gold something.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, like and he had this treasure that he basically hid, that's called the One Piece, and it's along the Grand Line. And in their world is kind of split up into quadrants. You have 4 quadrants, and then in the center, running along the center, is the Grand Line, and that's where he hid it. And they say it's supposed to be treacherous, full of sea monsters and things like that, but that's where he hid it. So all the pirates are out there trying to find One Piece. And Luffy wants to be one of these people. He wants to find the treasure also, because I think at heart, I really believe that at heart, I don't think he is a pirate. I think he's a treasure hunter, really. But also he's an orphan, and he always wanted family. So he thinks of his crew as like his family. So when he finds somebody he likes, he just kind of latches on to him and was like, okay, you're going to be part of my crew. And they're like, no, I'm not. Next thing you know, they're on a ship with them being part of his crew. And so he has this intense loyalty. All he wants to do is look out for and protect his family. And so that's what kind of makes his makeup as a character. But what I like about him is that, as joyful and cheerful as he can be, he also has those moments where he can be introspective, and also one where he can be very, very mad. Like when in the second episode, they were fighting a particular character, and he got trapped, and he got kind of intense. I'm not going to try to tell anything that happened because I don't want to be a spoiler.
No spoilers. Yeah, no spoilers.
But but you can see that there's dimension to his character in this show, and I like that. I really do like the fact that they're not one-dimensional. They're characters that are fleshed out and are being fleshed out even more. So you can kind of see their motivation. You can see what makes them who they are. And they're all very intriguing. Now, as far as the pieces, I've already ordered mine.
You have, eh? Interesting.
I already look.
That's awesome.
I already have my payment plan set up, and I'm gonna tell you this
Money
too.
where his mouth is. You'll have to see.
Out of all of the figures that I own, this is the first time that I have been excited
That's awesome. Buddy.
about a figure is getting these figures right here. I have figures that I have collected that I have loved and have enjoyed. These are the first two characters that I have actually been excited to get.
Sounds like the stories really resonated with you, I think, which I think is
Yes.
cool. I did take a look at the episode run, because when you said 2000, I was like, I didn't think it was that many. It wasn't quite that many, so it was
Yeah, it's not quite.
1071. But still, that's a lot of freaking episodes. That's insane. That's a lot to catch up on.
And one more thing about this also, which is actually very cool. The thing I like about this is that if anybody is wondering how Hot Toys might approach figures like Mr. Fantastic, just look to this one. You can actually see him with his stretching abilities, and I'm like, oh yeah, I completely see how they might do Mr. Fantastic when they actually put out those figures for the Fantastic Four. And I've heard people complain about the exposed joints. I don't mind that. I don't think every Hot Toys figure has to be seamless. Even though I know people say, well, I like the realism. Well, yeah, but it's a toy. I mean, it's not literally a little tiny human being in your cabinet. It's a toy. So I don't mind seeing seams. It doesn't take me out of it at all. And the thing that I love is the fact that they're able to get realism into that. While at first I thought, oh man, I think I'd rather have an animated head. No, I want this one. This guy has become Luffy for me.
Absolutely. Well, and I think the likeness to the actor is very, very strong with this figure, as well as the other piece as well. It's interesting you mentioned the Fantastic Four, because obviously they're in full out suits, whereas this guy's shoulder joint is technically exposed based on this outfit. So I like that they gave us like a swap out arm piece and leg joint and stuff to give him that stretchability, which is cool. In the Fantastic Four suit, I could see that actually being almost more challenging though, because they would have to have seams at the shoulder joints in the actual suit in order for those to be swap out, which may break some immersion a little bit. I am one of those people, Thomas, that while I understand your point that they're figures, they're toys, sure, I started collecting 1/6 scale though because I wanted the most realistic representation of that actor and character in my display as humanly possible. And one of the advertising factors for me was that they look like small people in my collection, not necessarily a toy. So for me, I'm always okay, at least in my own collection, I'm okay to get away from dynamic posability in favor of realness. But I think that this figure specifically, this Luffy, Luffy or Luffy, how does he say it in the show? Luffy,
yeah, Monkey D. Luffy.
They say it
This
both ways.
this character I think would be really boring if it had a Phison body and wasn't able to be posable or swap out pieces, because otherwise there's not a lot going on with the outfit. So if you're not very familiar with the character, it would be kind of a potentially slightly boring piece in your collection without the ability to make it a little bit more dynamic. Now, Eddie, I know you've been watching the show, and thank you, Thomas, for your breakdown, by the way, as well, buddy. I appreciate that. I know you've been watching the show a little bit, Eddie, and you said you've been enjoying it. Certainly not an expert by any stretch, but what are your thoughts on the show, and does that get you a little more excited or juices flowing for these figures that we're seeing now?
So I've been trying to go back and watch old anime because I enjoy anime, so I've wanted to go back and watch like the main ones, and some of them can be a bit intimidating because they are a lot of episodes, and it's kind of like you don't want to just jump in, and it can be a lot. So for me, when I saw this, I was like, you know what? If people hate the live action because they've seen the anime already, like I've never seen the anime, so why don't I start with the live action? And I watched the first episode and I enjoyed it a lot, and I already finished the series, so I really enjoyed it. And like Thomas was saying, for the character of Zoro, like I really identify with that character. Like he wants to be the best swordsman in the world, and he's a little bit like of an introvert, like keeps to himself, but at the same time you could tell that he loves his friends now and that he wants to protect them, and so like I immediately fell in love with that character. Luffy the same way. He's a very he's a very energetic character that like can make friends with anybody, and you know, and once they're his friends, he's very loyal and he wants to help them in any way that he can. So I think you do fall in love with the characters immediately, and so that's what made me fall in love with the show, I think. And it is a pretty good show. It's about pirates and treasure, and so if you're into that kind of stuff, it's cool. And then some of them have these superpowers, so like with Luffy, that little fruit that he comes with, that's how he got his stretching
fruit,
power. I don't think that's a,
Yeah, the devil
I don't
fruit.
think that's a spoiler in any way. It happens pretty quickly. They say it, so that's really cool. And yeah, I love all the characters, and so I think I am gonna order the 2 Hot Toys.
Cool.
I think they're cool. For me, the Hot Toys specifically, I think it would have been fine to leave that shoulder joint because you need those swap out parts. But I think for the elbow joint, I don't think it was necessary. I think they could have given us like unjointed or like whatever the rubber is,
Seamless
and it would have been fine. Yeah,
Okay,
seamless.
yeah, one you could pop in. That makes sense.
Yeah, but you need the shoulder to swap out the arm, obviously, to get the effect. So that would have been fine, and I think the shoulder hides under the vest anyway. So
It does
that
hide
would
under
have
the
been
vest actually pretty good, and even with like the extended arms, it then hides a little bit at the elbow as well with this effect that's on them as well, which is kind of cool.
Yeah,
and the faces I think are fantastic, Eddie. Like, what do you think of the likeness with regards to the actors? Are you feeling that for the Hot Toys versions here?
Yeah, definitely. I think they're spot on, dude. They're getting really good. I feel like they're
Dialing it in.
like in the last couple of releases that we've seen with anything. I feel like it's getting there. You can tell they're really hitting their stride with likeness to actors. So that's really good. So yeah, I didn't want to pre-order the figures until I watched the whole show because I was like, I don't want to just be ordering these because I liked the first episode and it's hype. But I love the whole season, so I'm hoping that it gets many more. But I would definitely say check it out. Whether you've seen the original or not, I think it's a really fun watch. And they're hour-long episodes. And one of the cool thing about it being on Netflix is the whole season is out. So you can either binge the whole thing or watch it whenever you want. But that's really cool too. So I would definitely give it a shot. And then there is I was like, now that I liked it on Netflix, I'm getting recommendations for all the other One Piece stuff, and I saw there's a movie that they did back in 2017 that's like a compacted movie of all of their backgrounds, and it's called Episode of East Blue. And that is kind of like, it feels like that movie is what the show is based on, because like there's a lot of like side by side scenes and stuff, and I feel like that whole movie is like, that's what the whole first season of the episode is, the East Blue, like them heading towards the Grand Line and finding the map and everything. So if you now, I kind of want to go back and just watch that movie, because I think it's like if you don't want to go back and watch all the episodes from the beginning of the actual anime, you could go watch that movie, and it like compiles it sort of like was it Kai that did for Dragon Ball, where it like shrunk down the original series and took out all the filler. So that's cool too.
That's very, very cool. Well said, Eddie. Thanks for your take on that, buddy. Because again, this has popped up for me both through Hot Toys and also now Netflix, and I didn't have familiarity with it either, so it was hard for me to like get all that excited about the release. But again, when I looked into some of the records that this show has broken and this mega series has broken, it's insane. Clearly, it has an insane following, and I think that these may be more popular than we even anticipate, especially once they sell out and they're gone.
So I want to hear your take on that. Like, do you think, because now Hot Toys is selling out a lot, right? Like pre-orders are selling out, it's going on wait list, things are selling out. Do you think these will sell out fast, or do you think that you have time to consider to watch the show to think about whether you want to order it or not, or do you think you should jump on it as soon as possible?
I think right now it is the time where everything's going to sell out, no matter the strength of the franchise, because they're trying to condition us as sellers that FOMO needs to happen again. We were, as content creators or just the collector community, for the longest time, we're saying no PO, right? Like don't PO pre-O anymore. You don't need to do that. Sales conditioning is a terrible thing, but it's also a very prevalent thing when it comes to business. And when you have a community of people saying hold your money until the pre-order comes out, businesses like Hot Toys can't sustain their economic value or their ability to produce these items without pre-order generation of funds. And so they had to change our mentality in some way or another. It's the same thing as when 285 used to feel really expensive, and then we started seeing figures in the 320 to 340 range for a period of time where we were all losing our shit over it. And then when they drop prices back down to 285, we're like, oh, 285? That's not too bad. It's going to be the same thing. I feel like it doesn't matter the strength of the franchise right now. I do think that we'll see blue screens and waitlists pretty darn quick. Now, do I think we'll see waitlist conversions quite often? Yeah, I've had 4 waitlist conversions this week in my email, which was mind-blowing. Like a ton of them. Yeah. And other companies, even like Exo6 that produces Star Trek figures, their immediate releases, they had a couple that were sold out, have now gone back on their website. So I think it's sales conditioning, unfortunately. Now, with this show specifically, I think it won't even necessarily matter if Netflix's show doesn't do well because of the massive audience of anime lovers out there that love the animated or anime side of the universe. I think that these types of figures or collectibles will get snapped up pretty quick. And it'd be hard to know if we get a 2.0 version down the line or not, because again, it will depend on the success of the show. Pete, any thoughts on One Piece? Have you watched the show? Any interest in the figures at all, or not so much?
No, I haven't watched it yet, and up until that Hot Toys announcement a few weeks ago, I had no idea about it. I hadn't heard of it at all, and it kind of listening to the guys like Thomas and that talk about it. It didn't really sort of intrigue me, but I think listening to the passion that Thomas has for it, like when he was talking about it today and everything, I'm going to give it a go. I'm going to give the Netflix series a go. It looks, there's some interesting character designs in there that I quite like. Not necessarily these guys. I would say with these figures, they look very, they're very quite plain, aren't they? Quite sparse figures. There's not a lot that comes with them, and I guess that's accurate to the show. But obviously, how do you feel about like Thomas and Eddie, if you pre-ordered these or going to? Like how you feel the value for money is on these, because they're quite bare bones, aren't they? I mean, this guy's got an outfit and he's got 3 swords, and the other guy's got not a lot.
He comes with 2 heads, one with the open mouth so he can hold the 3rd sword. He gets, it looks like he comes with 6 now. All right, I can't remember who it was that, I think it's brother cousins. He can't stand when they show boots as, I'm like, boots are not an accessory. That's necessary.
That's part of the figure at this point.
So it is pretty bare. I mean, I do admit that it is pretty bare bones, with the exception that you get 2 heads, you get the 3 swords, you get the hands and the base. So that is pretty bare bones, and rolling eyes, of course. But But I think that this one for me pre-ordered at, I think was $285 on Sideshows.
$275.
$275. Okay, yeah. So
hey, it's cheap. It's $10 cheaper.
That's about where it's $10 more than I was buying figures maybe 4 years ago. So, as a matter of fact, I think I got my Star-Lord. I think I got him for $265 when that first Star-Lord came out, and I can't remember how many years ago that was from Guardians. So, I wish he could have given, but then again, I was about to say I wish they had given more accessories, but in the show there really wasn't.
No,
there really weren't any more accessories for him. This is what he comes with.
Fair.
Luffy comes with more. He comes with the extra stretchy arms and things like that. So I think you get a little bit more with his, but I'm not balking at the price for them. It could be because I've been conditioned. I don't know.
I'm trying to justify.
I think if you're getting
it's two head sculpts.
That's
sculpts
definitely
makes it feel like higher value.
Yeah.
The rolling eyes is still a nice piece, but I know that's becoming more of a standard thing for a lot of
Yeah.
figures. So it's not feeling as premium as it once had.
Yeah.
But now it's really
Yeah.
jarring
It's
when you
good,
get a
though.
figure that doesn't have it, though, right? Because it's like,
Yeah,
like
exactly,
even, I think
yeah.
it's Black Panther. I'm waiting for that to come in for me this week, and he doesn't have the rolling eyes, and I'm like, it seems so weird now that he doesn't. Like, he's even got a mask that would be very benefited from having the ability to look in multiple directions. But just in case, also there was any confusion here, I had the slide up earlier. So on the left is actually the So Toys version that was of this character specifically that was previewed last year, so in 2022. But I know for the anime fans as well as the live action fans, there's been some hot debate on what would you rather have, or would, is it this or that, or is it both? Thomas, since you've seen some of the animated, do you have any desire to try and pick up the anime version one, or do you think that the live action one will suffice in your collection?
Well, I actually do have an animated one. I already have the animated figure of Ace, which is he hasn't been shown yet on the show yet, but I have been trying to find a Zorro. This one kind of looks like the animated version that you would see. I don't think I ordered this one, but I have another one on order, which is kind of like a kit that you just pop the head and stuff on the body. So I kind of want to have both, because I have my Dragon Ball figures are kind of like true to the animation, so I wouldn't mind having animated figures from the anime shows that I could put together in their own collection. But like Zorro and Luffy, I also have, which this movie sucked, but the Dragon Ball Evolutions, I actually have the Interbay Goku, and that figure is awesome. So I will actually put Goku in with my One Piece figures and let them fight along with them.
I didn't know they made figures from that movie.
Yeah, they made two. They made Goku and they made Piccolo, and they were both from Interbay. I just got the Goku on eBay. They had them at a pretty decent price. So yeah,
Nice.
That's fair. Well said, guys. Thank you for your take. Anybody in the chat or listening on replay, should we take the time to watch One Piece on the Netflix show or the anime series? If so, should we consider getting this figure? I'd like to hear from you guys down below. Now, we have a couple more pieces of news with regards to figures. We are starting to run a little bit long, so we'll go through the next couple slides a little on the quicker side, team here, just so we're not keeping people all day on their long weekend Sunday. But this one had come up about a week and a half ago. We just didn't get a chance because we weren't on stream last Sunday. Alfred Pennyworth, the man himself. I will give Big Bretta some credit here, because he said on a show, I can't remember whose show now, I think it might have been Mario's, that this looked a little bit like Queel from The Mandalorian, and now it's all I can see with regards to this figure. That being said, while I think that the eyebrows are a little aggressive, I think this figure's kind of cool, and I am considering trying to get this in my collection from Mars Toys, especially to go with my Keaton Batman, and let's be honest, he can also go with my Kilmer Batman. So it's got some posability options, some display options. Pete, was this one that came by your desk that you were interested in, especially for the the lower price point we're seeing from Mars Toys lately?
Yeah, I like it. I think they're putting out some good stuff. Michael Goff has always been my favourite. Alfred, he goes with the Keaton Batman, so it's just kind of like that sort of perfect matchup for me. So yeah, I think it looks really good. I don't have an 89 Batman anymore. Been there, done that. But if I did have that display still, this would be really good to have with him. So yeah, I like it. I'm sure it'll be refined a bit. I mean, the glasses look a bit janky, but then it's difficult to do.
Glasses always do.
At this scale, unless you do it in metal, and then that drives the price up quite massively. So
die-cast glasses.
Yeah. yeah.
Absolutely. Nicolio says, hopefully they make Kung Fu laundry Dick Grayson next.
Amazing.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Eddie, was this one that you were thinking about getting? I know you're a big Batman fan. You love your Kilmer. Like, is this one would you plant in the collection, or especially if the price is right?
I'm trying to stop getting third-party stuff, but I
Right. fair.
yeah, this is an amazing Alfred, and he's from all of my favorite Batman, so I think I would have to. And I'm thinking Mars Toys is also my only hope at getting Batwoman or Batgirl, whatever she is, his niece.
Yeah, Alicia Silverstone.
Silverstone.
Yeah.
Are they
so
making her?
They're
They
not.
haven't
But I
announced it or
like
teased it
they're
yet.
making every other side character from all of these movies, so I'm hoping that they get to her eventually. But
Yeah,
yeah,
well,
it's cool.
including
I'll probably
teasing that
pre-order it.
Selena Kyle, and then that's Selena Kyle from
Yeah.
Batman Returns, right? Like
Yeah.
that'll
Yeah.
be cool. But sorry to cut you off.
What was I gonna say? I have the Enigma on order from them.
Same.
I don't know if they did. Did they already solicit a Two-Face and I missed that one? I probably
They've
did.
teased it, but they haven't put it up for
okay.
pre-order.
So then I have the one that's the only one up for order. Then I have the Enigma. So yeah, I'll probably order this.
I'm excited. I'm really excited for the Enigma figure. And honestly, like this one is just one of those pieces that, like, if you know, you know. Like if you see this guy in your collection and you know who he is or where he's from, it's gonna be like, that is pretty cool. A very iconic Alfred for me. Although I do say that you know Sir Michael Caine, I did love his representation of Alfred too.
I did too.
Got to give him some love where love is due.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
The Imperial Praetorian Guards from Mando Season 3 have been solicited here, obviously, at this point. I think these are pretty cool. Eddie, actually, I think it was you that put the thought in my head of it being kind of like I don't know how you put it, but I think like a Spartan warrior type of helmet look. Totally love that. Other people have said it looks a little bit like a red sex toy. I can also see that up to a certain extent. Just depends. We're getting nuts. It's fine. But I would say, for me, this is a pass. Unfortunately, I'm not gonna get the Moff DeLorean. Unfortunately, I just didn't think he was that impactful in that scene of those two episodes that I felt like I needed to collect him. While I think the Praetorian Guards are one of those figures that like people usually kind of wait on, and then once they're gone, people are going to hunt for them. I do expect to see that with these guys. But to me, these are still the guys that chased baby Grogu around the room and couldn't kill him for about 15 minutes and then were defeated. So it was like just the impact of them felt less cool than other Praetorian Guards we've seen in the past. But what about you, Pete? Again, still an iconic look for a character. Praetorian Guards are just like that crimson red, right? Like it's gonna stand out in the collection. Is this one that you're considering putting in the collection, especially if you get it at the right price?
Not for me. I'm not really collecting Mando stuff. I've got the Durasteel Mando. That's good for me. I don't mind the design. I think they look quite good, and these red figures seem to attract quite a bit of attention. It always astounds me how much those Emperor's Guards go for, because they're a very basic figure. There's not a lot to them at all, and they're just insane. And I don't know what it is about them. So there's something about the red, I think, that kind of gets people, it kind of draws their attention in. And so they look all right, from a design point of view. I don't mind them. I think they look quite good. But yeah, not something that I would be picking up.
Do you think people need to get 2 or 3, or do you think 1 could still be sufficient in a collection?
Yeah,
they're often paired, right? That's the hard part.
Yeah, this is the thing. Like people feel like they can't stand alone; they have to have. And I get that with the Royal Guards, with the Emperor, they wanted him flanked by them. But these guys, I mean, it depends whether you're trying to recreate a particular scene or not. If you just want representation of the of the figure, then obviously you can obviously get away with one. So. And I think when you start the price of these things now, when people start saying, "Oh, I'm going to pick up 2, 3 of these," it's kind of like, wow, that's a lot of money, It's, and I find that where I've owned multiple versions of figures, that eventually I kind of sell one off, because I just think to myself, well, I only need one to represent, and I had 2 Sand Troopers, fantastic figure, but I got to the point where I was like, well, why have I got 2? I don't need 2. So it depends how you display, really, whether you're recreating particular scenes or whether you want to just represent the look of the characters that you like the look of, or that you enjoyed as a as a as a character themselves. So.
Absolutely. Now, I know, Thomas, you're not a huge Star Wars guy, so I don't necessarily expect these to be coming to your collection. So for you, Thomas, this is for you, okay?
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
So dark.
I love
So
it.
dark. But that was for you, Thomas, because if you tell me you're not a Star Wars fan one more time, I'm going to have to give it to you. But is this one that you're interested in? I know it's cool figure, right? So you don't even have to be a huge lover of it. Like, is this something you would consider throwing in the collection if you found a good deal?
You know, if I was gifted it, I wouldn't turn it down. I don't think I'd buy it, but it looks very, very cool. I mean, I love the colors, and the people have been correct. He does look like a sex toy, and if you go back one slide, you notice that it says vibro something. That kind of pinpoints the sex toy. So I can see
somebody's going to order this and be extremely disappointed.
I know, yeah, but I can see a dominatrix having this on her shelf, next to her cat of nine tails or whatever let's call them. But yeah, it's a cool looking figure.
Thomas?
Huh? Hey, I've been around for 58 years. You hear things. But yeah, it's a really nice looking figure, and but yeah, it looks great. So whoever buys it, they definitely will have a good looking thing for their shelf.
Absolutely. Eddie, any final thoughts before we move on to the next one here with regards to these guys?
Just quickly, the helmet is cool to me, like you said, Spartan warrior, any kind of.
Well, I got that
Roman,
from you. You said it's
Roman
technically.
Roman helmet. That's a cool thing. So I think it looks cooler than the original. I never understood the love for the original ones. I don't necessarily love their design. I think these guys are a little cooler to me, but
Yeah.
I think this is like more for people that like have a whole Star Wars setup and they get all the figures and they have a Moff Gideon that they don't want alone on the shelf. Then they could have some accessory figures behind them. But for me, just with the amount of stuff that we get nowadays, and then I like to cross scales and collect other things and statues and small figures, and for me it just seems like I don't want to allocate funds to a side character like this. So
fair enough. That's well said. It gets to be a lot, right? I mean, we have literally a weekly show where we talk about 2 hours worth of releases and announcements pretty much every single week. Like it starts to really stack up after a while. You do have to kind of dial it in for what you're looking for. And something like this popped up for me in a chat, and shout out to Big Bretta for highlighting it to me, because he knows I'm a big Dark Knight fan. This is a mask set for the Dark Knight, 1/6 scale Joker masks from the opening scene of the film from Daft Toys. Now, Daft Toys does have a history of selling up pretty quickly. I don't know if these are still available, but this was the first time I'd seen it only a couple days ago. I thought it was cool, something that people I know have been, looking through Etsy for example, of people who are willing to make the original Joker mask as well as some of these others. This could be a possibility for you as a 1/6 collector if you are interested in the Joker masks. But Pete, once again, I know you are a big Star Wars fan. And I know you have a love for Boba Fett for sure. This Boba Fett repaint armor was put up this week, or is now officially released, I should say. And it's looking pretty badass. Like, some of these photos are really, really good. But my question for you, Pete, is not only do you love this figure in particular, but what version of Boba Fett do you think collectors will consider the definitive edition going forward, especially from what we've seen from Mando and Book of Boba Fett?
Yeah, I wasn't a massive fan of the Book of Boba Fett series, to be honest. I thought it was a bit of a letdown. There were bits in it that were okay, but on the whole, I wasn't a massive fan. I think a lot of people said they've been waiting for this kind of final iteration of the suit from that show. And I think it's difficult to know. I quite like the first one on the left there, the kind of where he first gets the armor back and it's still
really cool
pieced
scene,
together
too.
what he's already got on, and it's all kind of acid and stuff. I mean, I've got the Empire Boba Fett, and for me that is always going to be the one that I want. So yeah, I don't know. I'm not sure about the sort of the bright orange knee bits and things like that. Yeah, I would probably, if I was going to own one of these ones, I'd probably have the first one, like the sort of you know, when he first gets the armor back, because I think that's quite an iconic part of the show, you know, in Mando and stuff when that happens. What went on to happen in Boba Fett, I wasn't as keen on it. So for me, that, you know, the suit, those versions of the suit doesn't have as much kind of draw for me. But the figure looks good. I mean, Hot Toys have done a lot of Boba Fett's. That you know, they know what they're doing, kind of thing. So yeah, decent figure if that's the look you're after.
Absolutely. I do like the green. I do like the depth of the color of the green. I think it's really nice.
Yeah.
It pops, for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't realize how
Yeah,
muted
yeah.
the other ones even were, to be honest.
Yeah,
I would say for me,
a lot
I'm
more
like,
yellow in it. Yeah.
exactly. I'm like UP too. Like I would say that like my Empire Strikes Back Boba Fett is for me the definitive edition. It's the only
absolutely.
Boba Fett I have in my collection at the moment.
Me
But
too,
I love that figure. But what about you, Eddie?
Yeah.
With regards to Boba Fett's, is there such a thing as too many Boba Fett's in one's collection? And or what do you think is going to be the most definitive edition of Boba Fett going forward?
I think Boba Fett is the kind of character that, like, he's a lot of people's favorite character, so I'm sure there's people that want every single version of him, and he does look a lot more different than I would have thought he did from that repainted version to this new one. I didn't even realize like some of the differences. But I'm one of those that's like the details, like I don't pay attention as much, so when I see it, like this picture on the left is really cool because I didn't even know what the differences were, but it's a cool figure for me.
Picture that, yeah.
I think
Shout
that,
out to CGE Rock, by the way. Thank you for the photos.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
think that original Empire Strikes Back will always be the definitive Boba. I think, like, if you're a true Boba fan, I feel like that's got to be the definitive. But for me, personally, my favorite looking figure, I haven't owned any of them, but my favorite looking figure is the one from Mando Season 2, I think it is, when he first comes back, the 2-pack. Like, that would be my one and done Boba.
Yeah.
But I'm kind of... I never was a big fan of Boba until that episode, those couple of episodes, so... That, for me, like, that's how I would want him represented in my collection. So, yeah.
Absolutely. No, well said. I agree with you, Eddie. Just seeing the three suits here on the left really highlight the fact that my attention to detail sometimes even in the show isn't as good as I thought, because I thought it was the same. I thought it was the same suit for the most part. I didn't realize the repaint was essentially another repaint to get him so much more vibrant in terms of his coloration. I still do really like the Throne Boba Fett. I don't have that in my collection. From what I've seen in people's collections, it's pretty freaking cool. But let us know in the chat, guys, is there such a thing as too many Boba Fetts? And if not, or if so, depending on your perspective, what's the most definitive Boba Fett? If you had to clear out all Boba Fetts from your collection, what's the one you would keep? I would like to hear from you guys in the comments below. Now,
guys, I can comment on Boba Fett. I actually have. I actually have Boba Fett. I have I have the. I think it's the original one, maybe, or it's the one that has that round base that looks like a grid. I don't know which one that. Maybe that's the.
Oh, this is the sideshow. Sideshow one, yeah.
Oh, is that sideshow? Okay. Yeah, so I have that one.
Lit up and it's pretty, yeah.
Yeah, and I like that one a lot. So yeah, I like I like Boba Fett. You know, I'm not the expert, but I do like Boba Fett. He was one of the characters that I remember the most, other than the main cast from the original trilogy. So yeah.
Absolutely. Sunnyvale Russ here says, I only have the animated Fett. That's pretty cool. I love that. The look of that figure, honestly. It's
that's
very
cool.
The
I'm always quite taken by the retro color one as well.
Heck yeah.
I'd quite like to get that at some point and just have it in the box. Because that was one of my favorite figures when I was growing up, when I had the Boba Fett. It's an iconic figure from and it's one of those things like what you think. Well, why did they change the colours? There must have been a reason. It was probably a production thing, or
Toys.
yeah, exactly, yeah. But it's cool that they did that in the retro colours, and that's a figure that I would, I might pick up one day.
Absolutely. I mean, I joke about it, but Star Wars is one of the most collectible toy lines of all time, right? So, what's a way to keep people buying? Change up the colors a little bit, and we still see that to literally this day. It's a great representation on the left here, like I said with this photo. The Birdship Boba, while I don't love that look of that suit as much, the scene where he's from, like we're at the end of season 2 of Mando, when he comes in and absolutely smashes the hell out of those stormtroopers and is such a badass, and then at the end he sits down on the throne with Fennec there, and it's like Book of Boba Fett is coming. I was so amped for Book of Boba Fett in that. I was like, oh man, I have to have it. Never ended up getting it because Boba Fett didn't stick with me as much as I would have liked it to, and I ended up deciding to just skip on the whole line altogether, which is crazy. But yeah, I want to hear from you guys. What's the most definitive Boba Fett in your collection, or what should be the most definitive going forward? Now, we've got 2 pieces of InArt, guys, before we wrap up, or InArt news before we wrap up the show today. The first is this: the figure, the Pennywise, is looking like it's coming up for relatively an imminent release. The pre-order has been out for quite a while. People have been waiting for this figure with great anticipation. It does sound like there's been some folks out, in China and other places around the world that have potentially already seen this coming to their collection, at least for review purposes. We had some what looked like leaked photos earlier in the week, and then these popped up today and yesterday, depending on your time zone, from this person by the name of Black, or their handle is Black. So thank you for the photos of this, because I know that there was a little bit of nervousness, especially from guys like Will Foxification. Love Will, love his show. He's a huge fan of Pennywise, and he'd seen some of the these leaked photos on Friday, on his Friday show. If you missed it, great show, go check that out. And in that show he was talking a little bit about, kind of looks a little sus, maybe the collar's a little too puffy, what's going on with the tailoring, making me a little nervous, right? But then seeing the photos today from this handle Black, these are looking pretty crazy. Now, I do not claim to be a Pennywise expert. I certainly don't. Kind of like Eddie had talked a little bit about earlier. There are going to be things that somebody who's an absolute expert on the character will recognize. There could be some tweaks. Guaranteed, let's be honest. But wow, does this look insane, and honestly superior, in my opinion, to the Hot Toys offering that we got. This makes me kind of want the figure, despite me not wanting a horror collection in my collection room. I really like the films, and this figure looks insanely good. Pete, what are your thoughts on Pennywise the Clown from InArt? Are you seeing these photos, and is it making you want them a little bit more?
It's difficult. I own the Hot Toys one, and that already is a fantastic figure, and undoubtedly the InArt it's gonna nudge it, just because of their attention to detail and the money they the effort and the cost they put into the production. And obviously this has got rooted hair, which on the standard face, because it's so set, it's probably doesn't have that same look, whereas this one looks brilliant with the messed up hair. I really like the Hot Toys one. I think it's a really good figure, and until this came along, it was a lot of people's the year that came out. I think it came out at Christmas, which is a bit odd. Who missed Halloween, but it was certainly one of
Christmas.
yeah, exactly. It was certainly one of the figures of the year, or whatever. It was really good. So I mean, I don't know the price on this, but undoubtedly it's probably twice the price of the Hot Toys one. So I don't think I'll be upgrading. And there's things about the Hot Toys thing that, like, the base is really good. I like the base on this one. Don't get me wrong, this is good as well. But the one with the Hot Toys, you've got the sewer, and you can put the second head sculpt in underneath, and that's a really nice touch, and that was kind of what part of what sold it to me. So I do really like this, and maybe at some point down the line in the future, if these start coming on the secondary market for a decent price, I might look at it. But not although I've bought the figure, not one that I love enough to pay the InArt sort of money. But it does look fantastic.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
honestly, and we're going to talk about the Gandalf next, but like obviously we've seen the Joker now in hand in people's collections. There's no denying for the most part, with the exception of a handful out there, that's an amazing figure release from InArt. The Gandalf, similar. I mean, we've seen Big Bretta's review on it now. He's super happy with it. That figure looks fantastic. This one is looking pretty darn good as well. As I said, keeping in mind that I'm not a Pennywise expert specifically, but it does look really, really good. Thomas, is this something that you're thinking about bringing into your collection? Are you going to have a Pennywise clown standing behind you at some point from InArt?
Well, not from InArt. I have the Hot Toys one also, and this one really looks amazing. I mean, I can't say anything bad about what I see. And there is a certain, especially on the one without the messed up teeth where the hair is coiffed up. I mean, that there's something about the way they did that hair that kind of really does outshine the Hot Toys version. I think I think the rooted hair really bumps that one up a notch, but I'm not as much of a Pennywise fan to make that kind of investment in InArt when I'm perfectly satisfied with the Hot Toys. But this looks spectacular. I can't say anything bad about it.
Yeah.
You're muted, Ben.
Oh, well, thank you. And I thought I was talking to myself there for a
You were
second.
froze.
It says, right? I might have been from, oh God, frozen. So I said, Sunnyvale Russ says, I have the Hot Toys version, but this is tempting, pretty good. What about you, Eddie? Is this one that you are considering now seeing these pictures? Is this something that you feel like you could skip on? What are your thoughts?
Looks amazing. I like the movies. I probably will never collect horror. Like, I'm much more of a sci-fi guy. Like, I love Aliens and Predator, and I collect that kind of horror, if that even counts. But like, when it comes to like demon clowns and stuff like that, I don't like having that kind of shit in my house. So I don't collect that stuff. But it's cool. I was always a fan of the original too. I thought clowns were scary as hell. So that's cool to me. But it looks really good, and I think the Hot Toy looks really good. And I think there's differences about both where you could get both and kind of mix and match accessories and things. And
I was just
so
thinking
like
that you could use the two. It'd be a good way using the two InArt head sculpts, because there's going to be subtle differences in the tailoring and stuff, and obviously one may be more accurate than the other, but essentially the costumes aren't going to look that different. But obviously this would be cool, because then you could have this one with the crazy head and then put the normal head. I mean, it's not really normal, but on the Hot Toys. So I think if you've already got the Hot Toys, you've effectively got a second body to use for this, which would make it feel more of a better value, I think, as a purchase.
I have considered having like a horror collection for holidays like Halloween, where I go and swap out a portion of my collection for a month and just enjoy a different type of feel to the collection. But I wouldn't want to put it away for the rest of the year. You know what I mean? Like, I'd still want to be able to incorporate it somehow.
I think
if you've got
go on. Freddy and Jason would probably be the only two that I ever got, and I think it's the same way. Like, I'd want to pull them out for Halloween and put them on like the fireplace mantle or something, just to have them out there.
Heck yeah.
Those are
Even Michael Myers as a figure is pretty cool. But what were you gonna say, Pete?
I was just gonna say, I think if the focus of your collection is horror, and you've got the Hot Toys one, I think this is worth the upgrade. For me, I don't really collect horror figures. I just really like it. Was just a really iconic look, and I thought the Hot Toys figure was really good. And it was one that I wanted to have in hand and experience, and I liked it enough to keep it. But I don't feel the need to upgrade it. But I think if I was primarily collecting horror figures, then I probably would, because or I'd do what I just said and keep the hot toys and display both the InArt heads.
Totally.
To have the kind of definitive representation of that character. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I'm not a horror collector either, but I do have a lot of horror figures. So, I think I have enough that I could group them together and put them in their own cabinet by themselves. So that's something I may have to consider, because
I'd like a Halloween video, Thomas.
that would
like
be
a
cool.
Halloween collection tour.
Yeah,
video.
because see, I've got like because I have Chucky, and I think that when we were doing Pose Wars, I actually did a pose with where they were having a cocktail party or something with Jason and Freddy and the American Werewolf in London and Chucky, and so I would probably do something like that, and then maybe take some zombies, because I have like I've ordered the Zombie Strange, and anything that looks weird and creepy, I would probably want to put them together in a nice little horror. And then I have the 3 Zeros Walking Dead collection. I collect most of those figures, so I have a great appreciation for horror.
And just the art of the figure itself, right? I think that's the thing that goes for me. Is like, not only did I like these 2 movies, I think I liked the first one more, but I did like them as a pairing of movies either way.
Yeah.
The figure is insane. Like, it looks really good, and as an artistic representation of a horror character in your collection, like, this is top friggin' notch. So. Maybe if I see one on like a Facebook Marketplace at some point and it's a good deal, I would probably pull the trigger. But I would, as I said, I would consider it maybe as like a Halloween kind of decoration or something along those lines.
Yeah.
Now, Pete, sticking with you, obviously this week we also got a chance. I shout out to Big Bretta as well as some other people who have shared now photos and a review from the InArt Gandalf. Now, Collecting Weekly, I know you're part of Collecting Weekly on your Only Fools and Collecting podcast. And hopefully this isn't too soon to announce. Zach, you can slap me in the chat if needed. Collecting Weekly just hit 3,000 subscribers last night. We're just waiting. We're waiting a couple hours to make sure it's official that we've crossed the line officially.
It sticks.
That it sticks, because YouTube is finicky that way sometimes. But assuming that it is, tune in on Tuesday for the draw for the Carnage figure for their 3,000 sub giveaway. But that being said, Collecting Weekly did a lot of work with both Zach and John while he was with the channel on getting the Moria staff added with this figure. Huge win for the community, for people who love Gandalf. And I would say for the most part, this figure has delivered from what I'm seeing from Joao's review. What were your thoughts on getting a chance to finally see this bad boy get pulled out of the box? And are you excited for it?
Yeah, very excited. I've got this one on pre-order. I'll probably be. I don't know what their release schedule is going to be like. I understand it's probably less numbers than the Joker, so that hopefully there won't be such a big, expanse of time between the first person getting theirs and the last people. But I picked mine up on a second run with 1/6 kit, so I might have to wait a little while. But I'm very pleased with what I'm seeing. I had a few doubts about the McKellen likeness, but I mean, definitely the photo on the right. I'm definitely seeing him. I don't know whether they did do some tweaks or whether it's just but it does look good.
Angles sometimes. The beard, angles and photography.
Yeah, exactly. Right? There are certainly some shots where I think it's spot on. I think the beard could be a little bit longer, but I'm quite happy to, as you say, get some beard oil on that and get that kind of more sculpted into more of a kind of a shape, so that it maybe comes down a bit lower. And I think, like, I was chatting to Zach, and so the only thing that they missed out on was the pattern on the pants, the trousers. It's not important really. It's very unlikely you'd see them. He did get the blue jewel on the sword, so that was a tick, and they did do the thumb holes in the sleeves. So I would argue they were probably more important than the pants, which most people would never know. I actually have got the sideshow ones that I might swap out just to see, how they work with it, just so I know that it is 100% accurate. But yeah, I love it. I'm really looking forward to getting this. I will be displaying him without the hat, kind of doing the Balrog scene. The hat, I'll be interested to see what the hat's like, because it looked okay, but the problem is with the material hats, they sometimes don't look as good as the sculpted plastic ones. But it doesn't bother me, because I won't be displaying him with it. The only thing I think is a little bit naff, a bit rubbish, and in some ways you could say, well, it wasn't really solicited, so it's a bit of a bonus, is the light up staff. The way that you have to kind of put that funny little bulb in, switch it on, push it in. It's not a long term solution for that. It would have been much better to have run a cable up the middle of it to a USB. I mean, I've done similar with my custom Gandalf. I just put a couple of lights in the top, ran a cable down the back so you can't see it, and put the gem in, and it looks brilliant. So I'll probably do a similar thing with the InArt one. I'll do that myself, because I don't like the solution they've gone with, and it's very yellow as well, the light. And so I think that's a minus point. But from everything else, I'm very much looking forward to getting this guy in hand and
Totally.
Having my first experience of InArt, because I didn't go for the Joker, and I think with the Joker, with this, and with what we're seeing from Pennywise, I think they have proved themselves as being up to what they've been promising, and I just I'm really keen to get it in hand myself, to kind of say, yeah, actually, because I got the Aragorn on pre-order as well, the rooted one.
You do?
So yeah, definitely. That's what got me to go back and order Gandalf, because they kind of reopened it, and I thought, well, I'm going for Aragorn, I'm going to get Gandalf as well, and maybe Legolas down the line.
For sure.
I like Legolas. I would definitely get Legolas.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Pete, I would say that. Oh, go ahead. Sorry about that.
Yeah.
I would say there's two pushbacks that I have on you. For the first tier, not necessarily pushback, but let's definitely take some advice from the beard god himself, El Profesoro Mario in the chat, the man with the beard that everybody wishes they could grow. He says, could use a hairdryer on the beard, hairdryer and beard balm to tame that beard. I'd be willing to listen to Mario's advice on that. With regards to
I'll have a look for some of that. Yeah,
beard balm. That's it. I disagree that the pants print isn't as important as you stated, though. Again, to somebody like Zach, but to a lot of people, not just Zach himself, the pants print does make a difference in terms of the realism and the.
It should have been there. I'm not.
Yeah, well, the Asmus figure has it. And when I see the Asmus figure compared to this one, I know Zach has a huge love for that Asmus figure, but I think this is far superior to that.
Yeah.
But I don't think that they should really if they want to be the best, if they want to have the most accurate representation of these characters, if that's what they solicit themselves as, and they put a price point on there associated with it, I do feel like there should be things like pant print if it exists on the character.
Yeah, sorry, don't get me wrong. I
like
completely agree with you. It should be there. Should be there for the price. They knew it was there and they ignored it. So that's a kind of a little bit like, a kick in the nuts to say, we know it's there, but we can't be bothered. So
that doesn't make sense to me when they went and added the second staff.
Right.
If you're gonna add something,
they should have just gone with all of it and just gone.
If you're gonna fix some stuff, fix it all.
Yeah, exactly. Well,
Zach the point I was making is it won't necessarily detract from the display in the way that most people are going to have in display, but I totally agree that they should have done it.
Well, and I know Zach had said when he was discussing this with John from InArt and giving him a lot of feedback as to why the pant print was important. One of the reasons that he was given at the time was that they would have to go back to the licensor in order to get approval to make any more changes. But then Pete, we were talking a little bit about this figure here, and in a recent announcement, we got an update that we were going to get fireworks as well as this ring as an extra bonus, because the magnetic rolling eye system that they were trying to develop for this figure just clearly wasn't working out.
Yeah, which I wasn't even aware about, so it wasn't.
I feel like most people weren't, right? I feel like most of us weren't.
To get some extra shit. So yeah.
Exactly, but if they were going to add extra stuff to the box, then like, did they have to go to back and get license or approval for those items as well, or was that just an excuse at the time? It's a little hard to say. Eddie, what are your thoughts on the figure here? Is this one that you are getting for your collection? I can't remember if you're in like a Lord of the Rings fanboy or not.
I love Lord of the Rings, man. I love the trilogy. I love The Hobbit. In a lot of ways, like, it could be my favorite trilogy ever, dude. I love Lord of the Rings so much. So I just, for the longest time, there was nothing good enough to collect for me. Like, I guess I don't love it enough to collect Asmus because I think they all suck. So I know Pete has a lot of them, and that see, the difference is Pete can customize shit and he makes it look better than it is.
Yeah.
So like, I've always wanted something, but it's either Asmus, which I don't want. Like, there's some 112 stuff now, which I don't really care for either. And then, like, the Prime 1 statues, which are expensive and a lot of real estate. So, like, there was never anything that I could collect. But now with InArt, it's kind of the best of both worlds. Like, it's expensive, but not completely out of my price range. And then their figures are so amazing. Like, I love the Joker, and I'm just so excited for InArt in general. So, yeah, I pre-ordered Gandalf, and I pre-ordered Aragorn. And I'm praying that they finish the Fellowship. Like, at least Gimli and Legolas. Yeah. If they do Gimli and Legolas, I think I'll still be upset if they don't do Boromir or any of the Hobbits.
Or Arwen. What about any of the elves?
Oh,
like,
I don't.
It's a slippery slope, though.
I don't care if they did Elrond. Then I'd be like, okay, that's cool. But as long as they do Gimli, Legolas, I'll be good. And then if they get to the Hobbits, then I'll feel like at least they did the Fellowship, and that'll be really cool. But I think it looks great. I've liked it since the beginning. There are things that I notice. Like I said, I don't pay attention to the details until someone points it out to me. So, like, when people say the beard's too short, I'm like, oh, I guess if you go back and look at the movie, his beard is longer, and, like, things like that. And then what Pete said about the light, I was annoyed with. I was like, why would they even put the yellow? It doesn't make sense to me that they try to make it so accurate, and then there's some things that's just like,
so obviously
any
inaccurate.
Fucking idiot could have known that was wrong. Yeah, and it's like you still did it, so it doesn't make sense to me. Like,
and why wouldn't the licensor, when they send it back for approval, why wouldn't they point those things out to them?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, well, they don't care. Yeah,
I guess they don't care.
They haven't seen the movie.
That's fair. I'm hyped. I went with someone. I ordered the Joker through Kit, and this one I went through like a company that usually only gets statues from. So I don't know how long it'll be until I get it, but I'm really anxiously awaiting this one.
Yeah, 100%. SJC360 says, next y'all want the jockstrap Gandalf wears under the gown. If it's on there, it better have print, and it better be accurate. That's all I can say.
For the price, man, like, I give Zach shit for the print. Like, Zach goes all in, but then again, he does love fucking Gandalf. So, you know, if you love something that much,
I like that Zach pushes up his glasses right before he talks about his nerdism for Gandalf. He gets really like into his chair, you know, like, okay, this is going to be a breakdown. Yeah. So yeah, I've got those glasses that look like my eyes are open when he gets about halfway through. I just pop those on the stream. You're good to go. Equan here says, I heard water-based KY lube works well for the futzing. That sounds a little dirty. I don't even know if I trust that.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Let's
I don't
get
even
nuts.
know if I trust that. Let's get nuts. Thomas, last but certainly not least, buddy, what are your thoughts on Gandalf? Is this one that you've considered putting in your collection? Why or why not?
Well, it's not something I probably have considered for myself because I'm not as familiar with the Lord of the Rings. I mean, if I were going to get anything, I'd like to get a Hobbit, and I'd like to get the God, y'all said his name, the elf, the
Elrond.
no, The one
Oh, Legolas.
Legolas,
Legolas.
yes.
Oh,
Legolas.
Yeah. I would get those two, and I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of thinking maybe I should have considered getting the Viggo Mortensen, because that one just looked amazing.
Insane.
But yeah, I think that having a Hobbit would make me very happy. So if they put one out, then I'd be very happy with that, and the Legolas also, because there's something so sleek looking about that figure that it just I just think it would look really good on a shelf. But other than that, I mean, I think this is I think that InArt has proven to me that they are going to deliver pretty much for the most part. I know that we have a few complaints about some things that were missing that they should have included, but for the most part they deliver. And right now they're also delivering at a slow enough pace that I feel like, well, if I did place an order, I could probably afford to get a couple of figures and not have to worry about it because they're spread out so far. So if they keep going like that, then I might get a few more InArt figures. But yeah, it looked really great. Looked really great.
Thomas, you've earned your name once again.
Have I earned it?
You have.
Gotta keep it classy.
You did. You did. Well, I've got a little
definitely.
sideways with the Praetorian sex toy thing, but we'll let you pass, okay? That was only a couple minutes of the video, so anybody who's just tuning in now, go back, because, there were some thoughts there. But with that said, guys, great show. Thank you for all of your thoughts on the figures and entertainment news and weird-ass questions that I typically ask that you guys humor me with. I appreciate it. Sorry it was so much about death at the beginning and internal life, all of the things. But, Mr. Pete, this is going to be a big week, it sounds like, for Only Fools and Collecting, if I've got my dates right. Correct? Tell us about that.
You are correct, sir. Yep. Yeah, so I mean, and it's fantastic that hopefully on Tuesday that the Collecting Weekly Live that you are a star member of, Ben, will be giving away the Carnage for the 3000. I kind of really hoped that it would coincide with with our big week or with Small Talk the week after, so it's worked out really nicely if that does stick for Tuesday, and I'm sure it will. We have episode 100 of OFAC coming up this Thursday, Thursday 7th of September, so this Thursday, 8:30 p.m. UK time. I'm not sure what that is in American time, Canadian time. You can go on Google and work it out, but it'll be in the afternoon for you guys. And I know that these two beautiful gents below me here, Eddie and Thomas, are both going to join me, along with some other guests. It's going to be a good show. We're going to do a little bit of news. We'll go through some of the bits we've gone on here, but not too long, and then we'll kind of get into some discussions about. It's pretty much 4 years to the week. So we've kind of missed a couple of shows. So we've done effectively 25 shows a year. We would normally do 26 if it was every other week. So we've kind of, we've had a few postponements. So yeah, it's kind of 4 years to the very week from the first show.
Crazy, dude.
So we're just going to talk about kind of, how we feel that the hobby's changed over those 4 years, how our own collections have evolved, and if how do we do things differently now to then, and things like that, and also just a little bit about how people came to sort of discover over. I know Eddie has always said that it was kind of his first interaction with the Collecting Weekly, and he's like, these guys have got a funny accent, what's going on here? And he's always been a big supporter of the show, and obviously then gone on to himself to join the network and be on Collecting Weekly Live and stuff like that. And so it's going to be really good to chat to these guys and see what they how they've seen things change, and also what they've got from the show, and what they enjoy about it that's possibly a bit different from the standard stuff. A lot of the stuff that there's a lot of content I think in the US, and I'm not sure about Canada, but UK there's very little. Particularly live shows to do with 1/6 and collecting. So although we've got a kind of a smallish audience in the fact of like a live audience, I think we've got quite a good perspective going on there about the UK collectors and things like that, and I think a lot of people like to see that side of stuff. So so episode 100, we'd love anybody to join us. If you can watch live, that would be fantastic. We have got a giveaway. We've got the SH Figure Arts Carnage, so the little mini version of the one that Collecting Weekly are going to probably give away on Tuesday. So I'm just working out the details, but it will be a live competition on the show. So you need to be watching live. We will. I think I'm going to put 3 multiple choice questions in based on things that have happened on the show in the past. You might not know the answers, but I think somebody's going to be able to guess the right 3. So hopefully we'll have a winner on the night. It could be a bit embarrassing if nobody can get them, but that's the idea. So watch live, have a go at the competition, and you could win the SH Figure Arts Carnage that was very generously donated by a friend of the show, network broadcaster Lane Kramer. So thanks again, Lane, for that. Yeah.
Pete, you can always tell your chat that if nobody gets it, that you have to deliver it to Classy Thomas just for being classy.
Oh, yes, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all over that. It's I don't know whether Lane's over the other side of the country to you, but I'm sure he can find some. I mean, we'll cover the shipping. Obviously, if it stays.
I'll pay for shipping if it comes down to it.
if it stays in the US, it's cheaper for us. So but
there you go.
we'll get it to you wherever you come from, wherever you're watching from. If you win, you'll get that figure. So please come and join us on Thursday. It's going to be a good night.
This Thursday, Collecting Weekly is the YouTube channel. You have to check it out. The playlist is Only Fools and Collecting. Collecting Weekly has hit 3,000 subscribers, which is a massive accomplishment. I've been with them since they hit 2,000, which was about a year ago already. I can't even believe how fast that time has gone. I love those guys. They're like my family. Every Tuesday night, you can see me, oftentimes Eddie, over on their Tuesday main show. But it's Zach and Dean that really are the true lifeblood of that show. They've kept that going for years, and the consistency. They've brought us all together as friends and family. And again, I love those guys. But as I said, if you guys are listening live and you're not already subscribed, or you're listening on replay, you're just tuning into the Ben Thomas Show for the first time, go over, please subscribe to Collecting Weekly and support those guys. By doing so, it also supports me, because it gives me something to do every Tuesday night as well. And for the Canadian audience, Pete, I know that we're often playing hockey, eating poutine, and drinking maple syrup, but we will always tune into your European live show whenever we get an opportunity. I think for me, it's about 1 o'clock in the afternoon, so I'll still probably be at work, but I'll try and tell my boss that I'm working and put my earbud in.
It's a very important. Sure. If it's just for this 1 week, see if you can,
slide out the door a little bit early. So.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Absolutely. Now,
it.
Eddie, Money Mendez, good to see you back, buddy. Thanks for coming in today, telling us a little bit about your thoughts on One Piece. That was clutch. And obviously, like I said earlier, we often are on Collecting Weekly together. Anything coming up in your life, buddy, that you want to tell people about, or anything that we can look forward to seeing on next, other than this coming Thursday on Only Fools and Collecting?
In life, nothing's going on right now. Just the gym, which this week has been a struggle with, because it's hard to gauge where you're succeeding with the gym. So I know I can see my muscles getting bigger, but this week I weighed in, because I weigh in every month, and I'm up 3 pounds from last month, so that sucks. But I can see that I'm getting stronger and more muscular, so at the same time, it's I don't know. Sometimes gauging the success in the gym kind of sucks. But
Eddie,
anyway,
muscle weighs more than fat. So
Yeah.
once you start burning off the fat, then you'll still be bulked up, but you're gonna have that muscle.
Yeah.
Or like random salt retention or something random all of a sudden.
Well, I
4
have
pounds,
actually
so-
been drinking a lot of salt water lately.
Well, that's
like a
probably
kick I'm on
swelling
right
you
now.
up a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm not
maybe.
gonna lie.
So that's life, and then I'm super excited. In like 2.5 weeks, I'm gonna get to meet Ben in person, so that I'm fucking hyped for this month. So
Oxcon.
yeah. So that'll be fun.
It's crazy. It's crazy. That's only a
Yeah.
couple of weeks. I'm gonna get a haircut because I do intend to live stream with the boys down there at some point and look the prettiest amongst them. That's my goal in life. I don't know if I'll achieve it, but you got to shoot for some kind of goal in life, right? So
I will never. I'll never be the prettiest one, but I can be the jackass, the funny jackass. So that's what I'll be doing.
that's it. Eddie, thanks for coming back, buddy. I appreciate it. Always welcome here anytime, good sir. Classy Thomas, last but certainly not least, anything coming up for you this week that you're excited about? Anything for the YouTube channel SpongeBob SquareBalls that we can look forward to?
Well, I keep promising. I'm not going to make any promises this week because I'm hoping that if I don't promise it, that it will actually show up this time. Seems like whenever I make the commitment to doing something, something always comes up. But I have been working. I actually have been working on a few things. I've been working on some costumes for some of my figures, and what I really want to do at some point. I just purchased a new setup rig for that you can actually set up. It's a rig that you can put your camera from. It'll point straight down, then that way I can actually do some work.
Oh, cool.
And just have my hands in there actually showing, so I could actually do that almost like a tutorial. I don't think I'm gonna do that with the ones I'm working on right now, because I'd like to actually just do it and have the costumes on the figure so I can display them. But I think that's what I'm eventually going to work towards, so I can actually have some actual tutorials and maybe something where I might actually start streaming some live tutorials, which might be kind of fun. So I'm planning things out in my head, but I'm not going to say specifically if I'm going to post anything this week, because I don't want to keep disappointing the viewers or myself. So if I do, I'll make sure that I put it out there, put notifications, put plenty of good hashtags, and of course contact you guys so you'll know and you can check it out and maybe share with your viewers, and we'll see how things go from there. But I'm excited. It's fun, and thank you, Ben, again for having me on your stream. I mean, I enjoy this every Sunday. I'm looking forward to being on the Ben Thomas Show, and I always remember back when we were doing Pose Wars, where we had talked about, when I said your name is Ben Thomas, my name is Thomas Clark, maybe we should do a Ben Thomas Clark type of thing,
or the Thomas take or something.
Yeah, so it's kind of nice that we're able to actually fulfill some of that we discussed back then. But yeah, I've been enjoying myself, and thank you for having me.
Always, buddy. It's always a pleasure. You guys class me up for sure. I love your takes, and I love you guys just in general, as well as the chat. Everybody who tunes in every week, honestly, it means a lot. When you see some people at least in the chat listening and joining in, it makes it way more fun. But the show has life after the fact as well. Lots of people watching on replay lately, and that is also appreciated, because it does take some time to put this together and get everybody organized to take 2 to 3 hours of their life to do this with me. So you guys help me make the show fun and dynamic. So I love you guys. With regards to me, I started a new cross stitch yesterday, which is the weirdest grandma hobby that I have for sure. But I like cross stitching random things, and so I've now got a new hoop that's 2 feet by 2 feet, and I'm looking at doing a Zelda Ocarina of Time design. I figure it'll take me probably 1.5 years to do, but stay tuned, because I'm trying to figure out ways that I could maybe do some time-lapse video of that cross stitch coming to fruition. If you guys are interested in past cross stitches that I've done, you can always check me out over on Instagram. I've got some highlights there of other cross stitches I've done. It's again very grandma hobby-esque. but very cool, very, very cool. So check those out. Now, for the Ben Thomas Show, great news. Today we just hit 1,970 subs. So I am 30 subs away from 2K, which is insane. I can't believe the journey it's been. The channel now has 285 videos on it. So if you guys are new to the show, lots of content to watch. I know our buddy Badfish has been watching all of these past live streams recently and having a good time. So again, thankfully it sounds like they're aging well, Pete. But at the same time, today was a great episode. I do plan to be back next week. We'll always put up the screenshot there a couple days early if for whatever reason we can't be here. But plan to be here next Sunday if you guys are able to be, and we'll go from there. With that said, we talked a lot about random shit today, Pete. A lot of weird topics from Thomas that he, got in on. Eddie had
very weird. Yeah.
Eddie had coiffed hair and all of the things. But I would say, with that said, guys, we got nuts. Thanks for watching, everybody.
I'll be back.
Bye.